Chapter 1496. For the next 10 days or so, Lu Ming stayed in the library, flipping through the books and reading the cultivation insights left behind by the Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley in detail. Lu Ming was greatly inspired. After that, Lu Ming returned to his cave. A heavenly lost stone floated above Lu Ming's head. Lu Ming was deeply immersed in enlightenment. The heavenly lost stone would slowly shrink and disappear as the martial artist gained enlightenment. After a few days, when the heavenly lost stone disappeared, Lu Ming changed to another one. Lu Ming was immersed in cultivation. Of course, Lu Ming did not blindly comprehend the chaotic territory. Every day he would spend some time cultivating the holy sword art. The holy sword art could strengthen one's soul and increase the strength of one's soul attacks. Lu Ming would definitely not neglect this secret skill. If he cultivated it to a high level, it would be of great help to Lu Ming. In addition, Lu Ming did not neglect the power-storing 13 strikes and the chaotic sky-flipping seal. He would cultivate them every day. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. On this day, Lu Ming stopped cultivating. It is indeed difficult to cultivate the chaotic territory. It is too slow to improve. Lu Ming sighed. He had been cultivating with the heavenly lost stone for 3 months. Until now, his chaotic territory had not even reached the peak of level 3, let alone level 4. One should know that he had the help of the heavenly lost stone. The heavenly lost stone was extremely precious. Even Sage Realm experts wanted it. Other Royal Realm martial artists would not have such a treasure to help them cultivate, unless they were the top geniuses of some sect. However, they could also cultivate with the heavenly lost stone all the time like Lu Ming. In 3 months he had used almost 30 heavenly lost stones, but his chaotic territory had not reached the peak of level 3. This showed how difficult it was to cultivate the chaotic territory. As the level of the chaotic territory increased, the difficulty of cultivation would continue to increase. Previously, he was able to improve rapidly because he had refined the 3 Emperor Realm fruits and watched the battle between the Titan Longhorn Beetle and the 3-eyed creature. However, his improvement was slower now that he was cultivating normally. Other than the Primal Chaos domain, his progress in other aspects was extremely fast. Lu Ming had cultivated the power-storing 13 strikes to the 5th level. When he struck out with his long spear, 10 layers of power erupted at the same time. Its power was astonishing. It had become Lu Ming's strongest attack apart from the chaotic flipping sky seal. It was even stronger than when he used the hell-suppressing heaven art. It also allowed Lu Ming's attacking methods to have more variations. As for the chaotic flipping sky seal, it had advanced to the 3rd level. Not only was it more powerful, but Lu Ming could also use it more smoothly. As for the divine sword secret art, his progress was also very fast. Lu Ming's soul had already been refined by the world-refining tribulation bell. It was dozens of times stronger than an ordinary person's soul. It was simply too suitable for him to cultivate soul attacks. After this period of cultivation, Lu Ming's soul power had not only become stronger, but the offensive power of the divine sword art had also increased rapidly. Its power was astonishing. Lu Ming was very satisfied with these improvements. However, the Primal Chaos domain's improvement was too slow. I can't cultivate like this. I have to speed up. I heard that the heavenly floating platform of the Dragon God Valley can help one comprehend the heavenly Tao and cultivate the Primal Chaos domain. Let's go take a look. Lu Ming finished his cultivation and planned to make a trip to the heavenly floating platform. A large sect like the Dragon God Valley naturally had many wondrous places that could help people cultivate. The heavenly floating platform was such a cultivation holy land. It was extremely famous in the Dragon God Valley. The disciples of the Dragon God Valley only needed to pay an origin stone to be able to step on it. Lu Ming left the Cloud Dragon Valley and flew towards the depths of the Snow Mountain. Soon Lu Ming landed in front of a canyon. The heavenly floating platform was in the middle of a few large snow mountains. 2 of the snow mountains formed a canyon passage. If one wanted to enter the heavenly floating platform, they had to go through this passage. Stop right there. Just as Lu Ming was about to enter the passage, he was stopped by a few young men. What's the meaning of this? Lu Ming asked with a frown. As far as he knew, there was no one guarding the passage in front of the heavenly floating platform. Only after entering the passage would there be someone guarding it and paying the origin stone. The heavenly floating platform has been reserved by the people of the Silver Dragon Valley and the Blood Dragon Valley. You can come back later. One of the young men sneered. Reserved by the Silver Dragon Valley and the Blood Dragon Valley? The heavenly floating platform is the cultivation holy land of the Dragon God Valley. It's open to all disciples of the 7 valleys. I've never heard that it belongs to one of the dragon valleys. Move aside. Lu Ming said. Lu Ming, what are you doing? I said it's reserved, so it's reserved. One of the young men blocked Lu Ming's path. You know me? Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. The young men's faces were cold as they sneered. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, two young men in snow-white robes with an ice dragon embroidered on them appeared. They were disciples of the Ice Dragon Valley. The two Ice Dragon Valley disciples did not stop them. They directly entered the passageway and disappeared. Lu Ming frowned and said, Didn't you say that the heavenly floating platform has been reserved by the Silver Dragon Valley and the Blood Dragon Valley? Why can the people of the Ice Dragon Valley enter? The few young men only stood in front of Lu Ming. There was a mocking smile in their eyes, but they did not speak. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. They must be deliberately making things difficult for him. They were obviously disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley. He had killed Yin Feng in front of the Valley Master of the Silver Dragon Valley, so he had become enemies with the Silver Dragon Valley. However, these people were able to recognize him at a glance even though he had never seen them before. This made Lu Ming think of many things. Could it be that the Valley Master of the Silver Dragon Valley had purposely sent people to stop Lu Ming from cultivating at the heavenly floating platform? Upon having this thought, Lu Ming's eyes flickered sharply as he took a step forward. Bang, bang, bang. Three young men of the Silver Dragon Valley emitted powerful auras. They were all peak 4th layer martial dominators. Hold it right there. One of the young men snapped coldly as 3 streams of pressure landed on Lu Ming's figure. At this time a few more people came over. When they saw this situation they couldn't help but stop and watch. That's Lu Ming. Those are the disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley. This is going to be interesting. A few months ago, Lu Ming killed Yin Feng in front of the Valley Master of the Silver Dragon Valley, which infuriated the Valley Master. I heard that after the Valley Master returned to the Silver Dragon Valley, he immediately gathered the young disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley and told them to take care of Lu Ming if they were to stumble into Lu Ming outside. The few people who were watching were discussing softly. Although their voices were soft, Lu Ming could still hear them clearly. Lu Ming's gaze became colder. As the Valley Master of the Silver Dragon Valley, not only did he not teach his grandson a lesson after he had committed a heinous crime, he even tried to slander Lu Ming, resulting in his grandson being killed by Lu Ming. Now he actually instigated the Silver Dragon Valley disciples to deal with Lu Ming. He was simply despicable and shameless. Chapter 1497. Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning as a powerful aura emanated from his body, crushing the aura of the 3 youths. Get lost. Afterward Lu Ming hollered. With this roar Lu Ming used the divine sword art. An invisible wave rushed towards the 3 youths and blasted into their spiritual deities. At this moment, the 3 youths' spiritual deities trembled violently as if they were hit by a hurricane. At the same time, Lu Ming seemed to have turned into a giant beast in their eyes. A terrifying aura pressed down on them. Their bodies trembled violently as they screamed and fell to the ground. Their bodies were drenched in cold sweat. The onlookers at the side were dumbfounded. Lu Ming's roar actually made the 3 youths from the Silver Dragon Valley fall to the ground. It was unbelievable. Of course, they did not know that it was because of the divine sword art. The divine sword art was mainly to enhance one's soul power and then use it to launch an attack. After this period of cultivation, Lu Ming had already cultivated the divine sword art to the point where it was invisible. With a roar, the divine sword art was activated and directly attacked the opponent's soul. It was invisible and incomparably mysterious. The 3 young men from the Silver Dragon Valley were attacked by Lu Ming. Their spirit deities were shaken and they even had hallucinations. They thought that they had seen a primitive giant beast. Their bodies and minds were shaken and they sat on the ground. After a while, the 3 youths came to their senses. Damn it, Lu Ming, what kind of sorcery did you use just now? I'm going to cripple you. The youth in the middle roared, his face flushed red. The other 2 youths were about the same. It was too embarrassing. They were scared to the point of sitting on the ground by Lu Ming's roar. If this spread out, they would definitely become a laughing stock. They blamed it all on Lu Ming. The 3 youths roared as their true essence erupted and attacked Lu Ming. Get lost. Lu Ming roared again. This roar not only contained the attack of the divine sword technique, but also a powerful true essence. The true essence formed a storm and bombarded out. After reaching the martial emperor realm, the higher the grade of the spiritual body, the stronger the spiritual body. Even the spiritual body itself would be stronger and more condensed. 4 martial emperors, The increase of their cultivation was a combination of true origin and spiritual body. Therefore, true origin and spiritual body complemented each other. Otherwise, a person with a high-level spirit body wouldn't be so strong. The higher the level of the spirit body, the higher the level of the true essence. With Lu Ming's current cultivation level and medium earth spirit body, he could easily crush his opponent with his true essence. As soon as the 3 Silver Dragon Valley youths rushed out, they were hit by the divine sword skill. Their spiritual spirits shook violently and they felt a tearing pain. Then Lu Ming's genuine vitality hit them, causing them to howl and spit out blood. Their bodies flew backward and fell heavily on the ground. The onlookers sucked in a breath of cold air, shocked beyond words. The previous shout had caused the 3 Silver Dragon Valley youths to sit on the ground. Now, with a shout, the 3 of them were seriously injured and spat out blood. This was too shocking. Lu Ming glanced at the 3 of them coldly and strode into the passage. After Lu Ming had gone far away, the 3 Silver Dragon Valley youths struggled to get up. Their eyes were filled with fear and they walked into the passage. After walking through the passage, there was a counter at the entrance of the passage and someone was guarding it. This was the place where the true guards were stationed. You need to pay 200,000 medium primordial stones to enter the floating platform. One of the guards at the counter said. Lu Ming nodded and paid 200,000 medium primordial stones. Then he stepped into the floating platform and looked forward. A shocking scene greeted Lu Ming's eyes. This place was in the middle of a few snowy mountains forming a huge kernel. The area was very wide. In front of him there were stone platforms floating in the air. There were a total of 36 rows and each row was slanted upwards. Every 100 meters, there would be a stone platform floating in the air. Just like that, there were 13 stone platforms that extended into the void. This was the floating platform. In short, there were a total of 36 rows and each row had 13 stone platforms. Each of them was 100 meters apart and extended into the void. At this moment, there were already people sitting cross-legged on some of the stone platforms. Each row could only allow one person to enter at a time. Lu Ming saw that some people were sitting cross-legged on the 3rd stone platform, some were sitting cross-legged on the 4th stone platform, and some were sitting on the 5th stone platform. There were dense inscriptions on the stone platforms that covered the people who were sitting cross-legged. Some people stood below and watched. It was said that the floating platform was created by the founder of the Divine Dragon Valley. It was very magical. When one sat on it, their spirit would escape into the endless void. There was a battlefield created by the founder of the Divine Dragon Valley. There were heavenly law mutated beasts formed by the heavenly law. When martial artists fought with them, they could comprehend the heavenly law, domain and even law. Every time one ascended a stone platform, the difficulty would increase accordingly. Lu Ming walked forward casually. A few young men were watching. At this moment, all of them looked toward Lu Ming with sharp gazes. At this moment, the 3 young men from the Silver Dragon Valley who were injured by Lu Ming's shout earlier walked in. They came to the side of the few young men and whispered a few words to them. The sharpness in the few young men's eyes intensified. A young man with silver robes said coldly, "This Lu Ming is getting more and more arrogant with the support of the valley leader of the Cloud Dragon Valley. I'll teach him a lesson." After saying this, he walked toward Lu Ming. "So you're Lu Ming?" The young man with silver robes said coldly. "That's right, what's the matter?" Lu Ming replied casually. "You're here to cultivate too, but your cultivation is only at the 3rd layer martial dominator realm. I'm afraid you won't be able to pass a few platforms. It's a waste of the origin stones." The young man in the silver robe said with a mocking tone. "I'm only able to pass a few platforms. I don't think it's a waste of the origin stones. Besides, you're only at the 5th layer martial dominator realm. I doubt you'll be able to pass more platforms than me." Lu Ming said calmly. "Not as many as you? How funny, Lu Ming, I think you're being too full of yourself. You think you're so full of yourself just because you're a little talented? There are countless geniuses in this world, and there are plenty of people in the Dragon Valley who are more talented than you." The young man in the silver robe mocked. "Oh, does that mean you're quite talented? Do you dare to bet with me with your cultivation of the 5th layer martial dominator realm?" Lu Ming said. "Bet? What kind of bet?" The young man's eyes flickered. "Let's bet on who will be able to reach a higher platform." Lu Ming said. "You want to bet with me? Sure, I accept. What's the bet?" The young man in the silver robe accepted without hesitation. There were a total of 13 platforms that extended into the sky. Each of them corresponded to a domain. The first platform was equivalent to a first-grade domain, the second platform was equivalent to a second-grade domain, and so on. Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the third layer martial dominator realm, with a third-grade domain. Regardless of how powerful his domain was, it would be impressive if he could reach the fourth platform. However, the young man in the silver robe had a sixth-grade domain despite his cultivation of the fifth-layer martial dominator realm, allowing him to reach the sixth platform. Unless Lu Ming could reach the seventh stone platform, he would not be able to defeat him. Chapter 1498. In his opinion, Lu Ming must have never been to the sky-reaching floating platform before and did not know the mysteries within. That was why he made the bet with him. How about we bet 500,000 contribution points? Lu Ming said. 500,000 contribution points. The silver-robed young man's heart skipped a beat. Then flames of greed appeared in his eyes as he said, "Okay, I agree." Then the silver-robed young man shouted, "Junior brothers, senior brothers, please bear witness." As soon as the silver-robed young man shouted, the young men below the stone platform all looked over. Some of them walked over. Those who were with the silver-robed young man also walked over. "What witness?" someone asked. "Everyone, this person is Lu Ming." The silver-robed young man pointed at Lu Ming. "Lu Ming? It's him. He's Lu Ming." Some people blurted out. Now Lu Ming was very famous. At the entrance of the Cloud Dragon Valley, he killed Yin Feng in front of the Valley Master of the Silver Dragon Valley, causing the Valley Master of the Silver Dragon Valley to be injured. Later on, the Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley even killed a few wardens of the mission hall because of this matter. All of this was because of Lu Ming. Lu Ming's name was known by many people. At this moment, they all looked at Lu Ming curiously. "Junior brother Lu Ming wants to make a bet with me. Let's bet on who will be able to reach the higher stone platform. The bet is 500,000 contribution points. Is that right, junior brother Lu Ming?" The silver-robed young man asked. "What?" His words shocked everyone and they looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. Lu Ming actually wanted to make a bet with the silver-robed youth. The bet was 500,000 contribution points. With Lu Ming's cultivation, wouldn't he lose to the silver-robed young man for sure? Stepping onto the stone platform didn't depend on one's combat strength. It depended on one's domain. The higher the level of one's domain, the stronger one would be able to step onto the higher stone platform. Could it be that this Lu Ming had so many contribution points that he had nowhere to spend them? The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled up slightly. This silver-robed young man was afraid that Lu Ming would go back on his word, so he found these people to be witnesses. However, this was exactly what Lu Ming wanted. "That's right, that's true." Lu Ming nodded. "All right," Lu Ming agrees. "We can be witnesses." A young man who was with the silver-robed young man blurted out. The others also nodded, indicating that they could bear witness. "Junior brother Lu Ming, let's begin," said the silver-robed young man. He was rather impatient and was afraid that an undue delay would lead to trouble. "Sure." Lu Ming smiled. The two of them chose two stone platforms that were close to each other. There was no one else on these stone platforms. Bang! Bang! The two of them jumped onto the first stone platform almost at the same time. Then the two of them sat down cross-legged at the same time. The stone platform glowed and dense inscriptions appeared, covering the two of them. The first function of these inscriptions was to allow one's mind to escape into the unpredictable void. The second function was to prevent others from attacking. It had a defensive function. Although the Dragon God Valley had a rule that no one was to attack others on the floating platform, or else they would be severely punished, there might be people who would take the risk. Therefore, these inscriptions played a very good defensive role. When the inscriptions covered Lu Ming's body, he felt his mind, or rather his soul, being drawn out of his body. The space around him flashed past like a flickering light. In the next moment, Lu Ming realized that he had arrived at a chaotic land. All around them was a vast expanse of boundless emptiness. However, Lu Ming realized that the aura of the Great Tao here was extremely rich. If he cultivated here, the effect would be at least 10 times better. Is this the heavenly battlefield that the founder of the Dragon God Valley opened up? Lu Ming thought to himself. Brr. Suddenly, there was a loud roar and a strange beast appeared in front of him. This strange beast was filled with the aura of the Great Tao. A heavenly beast. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Brr. 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 Then, there were loud roars one after another as heavenly beasts appeared one after another. These heavenly Tao beasts were in different forms. Some were in the form of tigers, some were wolves, and some were snakes. The one thing that was similar was that there was a golden mark in the middle of their eyebrows. Heavenly Tao mark. Lu Ming's eyes shone brightly. In the heavenly battlefield, as long as one killed these strange beasts, the heavenly Tao mark in the middle of their eyebrows would be absorbed by the cultivator, and they would be able to comprehend the heavenly Tao and domain. It was extremely magical. There were loud roars and at least 5 to 6 heavenly Tao mutated beasts pounced on Lu Ming. Condense. The primal chaos domain spread out and then began to shrink. In the end, it turned into a long spear that Lu Ming held in his hand. In the heavenly battlefield, because one's mind could enter it, all weapons and true yuan couldn't be used. The only thing that could be used was the domain. Whoosh. The long spear pierced out and a spear light pierced through the vast space, killing a heavenly beast. Then, the long spear swept out and 5 or 6 heavenly beasts were defeated at the same time. The heavenly beasts were defeated and turned into heavenly Tao energy. However, the heavenly Tao mark in the middle of their eyebrows emitted a golden light and flew into Lu Ming's body and disappeared. Roar, roar, roar. The roars were like thunder as more heavenly beasts appeared and charged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming held the long spear formed by the primal chaos domain and charged forward. The long spear trembled and spear shadows flashed. More than 10 spear lights pierced through the air and killed more than 10 heavenly beasts. This was the first floating platform. The heavenly beasts that appeared were equivalent to first-grade domains. To Lu Ming this wasn't difficult at all. Soon, Lu Ming killed a total of 108 heavenly beasts. At this time, no more heavenly beasts appeared. At this time, Lu Ming felt his body tighten. In the next moment, he discovered that he had returned to his physical body on the heavenly floating platform. And the heavenly Tao mark. Lu Ming felt and found that there were 108 golden heavenly Tao marks in his mind. Wonderful, this is really wonderful. Lu Ming sighed. Then he closed his eyes and refined these heavenly Tao marks. His body emitted a faint golden light. On the floating platform next to Lu Ming, the silver-robed youth also opened his eyes. He glanced at Lu Ming and sneered. He also began to refine the heavenly Tao marks. 10 minutes later, the silver-robed youth stood up. The inscriptions covering his body automatically withdrew and disappeared. Looking disdainfully at Lu Ming who was still refining, the silver-robed youth took a step forward and crossed 100 meters. He appeared on the second floating platform and sat down cross-legged. Similarly, on the second floating platform, numerous inscriptions appeared and covered his body. And Lu Ming continued to sit on the first floating platform. Half an hour later, Lu Ming felt that the heavenly Tao marks he had just obtained had been completely refined. The primal chaos domain has indeed strengthened. It's comparable to 7 days of cultivation. Lu Ming revealed a smile. He was shocked by the effects of the heavenly floating platform. Chapter 1499. Then let's continue. Lu Ming stood up and the inscriptions on his body automatically retreated. Haha, this Lu Ming is going to lose for sure. The first floating platform took so long and he actually dared to make a bet with senior brother Yinqing. He's simply giving senior brother Yinqing contribution points. 500,000 contribution points. I'm so jealous. Senior brother Yinqing has earned a lot of contribution points. Below, some people looked at Lu Ming and mocked him. Lu Ming smiled faintly and couldn't be bothered with them. The bet between him and the silver-robed youth was about who could step onto the higher floating platform, not who would take the shorter time. This was his first time here and he had refined the heavenly Tao imprint until there wasn't a single trace left. Naturally, it took him more time. Then Lu Ming took a step forward and stepped onto the second floating platform. He sat down cross-legged. The second floating platform glowed and the inscription shrouded Lu Ming again. In the next moment he was back in the land of chaos. Brr, brr. Just like last time, heavenly law mutated beasts appeared one after another. However, this time, there were 2 golden heavenly Tao imprints between their eyebrows. 2 golden heavenly Tao imprints meant that the heavenly law mutated beast here had the strength of a grade 2 domain. Roars rang out as the heavenly law mutated beasts pounced towards Lu Ming. The primal chaos domain once again formed a long spear. Lu Ming held the long spear and charged forward. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Spear light swept out and the heavenly law mutated beasts were killed one after another. Soon, all 108 mutated beasts were killed by Lu Ming and he reappeared on the floating platform. He took a glance and saw that the silver-robed youth was already on the third floating platform. Lu Ming ignored him and closed his eyes to refine the heavenly Tao imprint. The number of heavenly Tao imprints on the second floating platform was double that of the first one. An hour later, when Lu Ming had finished refining the heavenly Tao imprint, he felt that the primal chaos domain had increased by another level. Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared on the third floating platform. The third floating platform was a Heaven Tao variant that had appeared after entering the vast primal chaos. It had 3 golden marks on its forehead, and was equivalent to a 3rd-grade personal domain. In terms of level, it was on par with Lu Ming's personal domain. However, Lu Ming's domain was the primal chaos domain, the emperor of thousands of domains. There were very few in the world that could be compared to the primal chaos domain. Even though they were of the same level, Zhang Xian would still be able to crush Zhang Xian. Not long after, the 108 heavenly Dao beasts were killed, and Lu Ming began to refine the heavenly Dao imprint. Below, some people continued to discuss. This Lu Ming's talent is not bad. He can fight above his level. I estimate that he can reach the 4th floating platform, but that's definitely his limit. That's right. The 3rd floating platform has 108 heavenly law mutant beasts that are equivalent to rank 4 domain beasts. This Lu Ming will be lucky if he can kill 10 of them. Senior brother Yinqing's domain has already broken through to rank 6. Last time he was able to kill 50 heavenly law mutant beasts on the 6th floating platform. There's no suspense in this bet. A few youths who were with Yinqing spoke one after another. Look, senior brother Yinqing is going to the 5th floating platform. Someone shouted. Sure enough, at this moment Silver City stood up, took a step forward and appeared on the 5th floating platform. He turned to look at Lu Ming, who was still on the 3rd floating platform. The corners of his lips curled into a cold smile as he sat down cross-legged. This time it took Lu Ming 2 hours to refine the heavenly Dao imprint. He could feel that his primal chaos domain was approaching the peak of rank 3 domain. Lu Ming stood up and took a step forward. He stepped onto the 4th floating platform and sat down cross-legged. This brat is on the 4th floating platform. Watch carefully. In less than half a minute he will be blasted off the floating platform. One of Yinqing's companions said disdainfully. Very quickly half a minute passed. Lu Ming's figure was as steady as a rock. He can only hold on for a while longer. At most he will be blasted off the platform in 3 minutes. The youth who spoke previously blushed and said awkwardly. Very quickly 3 minutes passed. Lu Ming's figure was still as steady as a rock. He definitely won't last more than 10 minutes. The youth gritted his teeth. 10 minutes later, Lu Ming's body emitted a golden radiance. It was obvious that he had killed all the heavenly Dao beasts and was beginning to refine the heavenly Dao imprint. That's fast. He killed all the beasts on the 4th floating platform in 10 minutes. That's really fast. Yinqing used 15 minutes just now. Who was the one who kept saying that Lu Ming would be blasted off the platform? The other youths started to discuss among themselves. They were extremely shocked. Some of them even looked at the youth who spoke previously. That youth's face was as red as a pig's liver. He was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He only passed the 4th floating platform by luck. He definitely won't pass the 5th. The youth gritted his teeth. Everyone looked on as time passed slowly. After a period of time, Yinqing suddenly stood up on the 5th platform. That brat should be blasted off the platform. The corner of Yinqing's mouth curled into a cold smile as he looked behind him. His expression changed when he saw Yinqing. You actually passed the 4th floating platform. Consider yourself lucky. However, the 5th floating platform is your limit. Yinqing snorted coldly. He took a step forward and stepped onto the 6th floating platform. He entered the heavenly Dao battlefield to fight the heavenly Dao beast. Below the floating platforms, everyone watched quietly. After about 20 minutes, Yinqing, who was sitting cross-legged on the 6th floating platform, suddenly trembled. Inscriptions flashed, and Yinqing's body flew out of the floating platform and landed at the bottom of the platform. Senior brother Yinqing, how many level 6 heavenly Dao beasts did you kill this time? The youth who kept saying that Lu Ming would be blasted off the platform hurriedly asked. 68. Yinqing replied. 68. That's 18 more than the last time. Congratulations, senior brother. It won't be long before you pass the 6th floating platform. The youth quickly flattered. Yinqing smiled faintly, revealing a trace of complacency. He then looked at Lu Ming on the 4th floating platform. At this moment, Lu Ming stood up and took a step forward. He stepped onto the 5th floating platform and sat down cross-legged. Inscriptions immediately covered his body. A level 3 realm. Stepping onto the 5th floating platform is his limit. Yinqing said coldly. That's right. He definitely won't be able to kill 10 level 5 heavenly Dao beasts. He will be blasted off the platform. The youth from before said. However, time passed. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Lu Ming was still sitting cross-legged on the floating platform. The youth had completely shut up. Yinqing's expression also turned cold. In the heavenly Dao battlefield, Lu Ming was fighting. In the Heavenly Dao battlefield on the 5th platform, the Heavenly Dao beasts gathered were equivalent to level 5 realms. Level 5 realm Heavenly Dao beasts were extremely powerful. They pounced with shocking might. However, the chaotic domain was still able to suppress these beasts. Chapter 1500. Whoosh. With a flash of the spear, a level 5 Heavenly Law exotic beast was killed. With another sweep, another level 5 Heavenly Law exotic beast was sent flying, crashing into several other Heavenly Law exotic beasts. As the spear light swept through, one Heavenly Law exotic beast after another was defeated by Lu Ming. After an unknown period of time, when the last Heavenly Law exotic beast was killed, Lu Ming's consciousness returned to the 5th floating platform. He opened his eyes and casually glanced at Silver City, who had appeared below the floating platform. A faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth as he began to refine the Heavenly Dao imprint. After a few hours, the Heavenly Dao imprint was refined. Lu Ming stood up and stepped onto the 6th floating platform. Below the floating platform, Silver City's expression was extremely gloomy. Even if this Lu Ming is lucky enough to step onto the 6th floating platform, what can he do? Senior brother Silver City killed 68 Heavenly Law exotic beasts. This Lu Ming definitely won't be able to kill 68. It was that young man again gritting his teeth. Silver City's expression was cold and indifferent. He didn't say anything as he stared at Lu Ming, who was sitting cross-legged on the 6th floating platform. He couldn't wait for Lu Ming to be sent flying off the floating platform. Unfortunately, he was disappointed. Lu Ming's figure didn't move at all. On the 6th floating platform, Lu Ming was fighting with all his might in the Heavenly Law battlefield. The Heavenly Law exotic beasts here were even more frightening. Every Heavenly Law exotic beast was equivalent to a level 6 domain expert, while Lu Ming was only a level 3 domain expert. There was a difference of 3 levels. Furthermore, there were 108 Heavenly Law exotic beasts surrounding Lu Ming. The pressure on Lu Ming had truly increased. Bam! His spear swept across, sweeping across a Heavenly Law exotic beast. This Heavenly Law exotic beast was only sent flying, but it wasn't seriously injured. It roared, got up and charged at Lu Ming. Whoosh! Lu Ming's chaotic domain spear pierced a Heavenly Dao mutated beast. Halfway through, it was stuck by the mutated beast. A level 6 Heavenly Law exotic beast is indeed very strong. Lu Ming's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. Immediately after, Lu Ming took a step forward and charged towards the strange beast like a bolt of lightning. His leg, wrapped in the chaotic domain, stomped heavily on the strange beast's head. Lu Ming stomped down on the strange beast. Then his long spear suddenly pierced through the strange beast's body. The long spear shook and the strange beast collapsed. The first level 6 exotic beast was killed. Brr, brr, brr. With thunderous roars, more and more beasts pounced on Lu Ming. The long spear of the primal chaos domain swept out and sent a group of mutated beasts flying. Then it stared at one of the mutated beasts and killed it in the same way as before. It's too slow to kill like this. Although I can slowly wear them down, I should be able to pass the 6th floating platform in the end. However, it will take a long time. Lu Ming frowned. He was thinking of ways to strengthen the power of the primal chaos domain. Weapons could not be brought in here and there was no Jinyuan in the area. As such, there were many battle techniques that could not be used. Thus, one could only rely on one's dominion. Wait, 13 strikes of storing power. Suddenly Lu Ming had an idea. Although 13 strikes of storing power was a domain-type martial technique, the spear domain martial technique, it was more about the technique of exerting force. The technique of the spear and the technique of exerting force in the spear domain could allow one to erupt with 2, 5, or even 10 strands of force at the same time, increasing one's might greatly. Then, could he use this technique of exerting force in the primal chaos domain? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He did as he thought of it. Buzz. Lu Ming's long spear shook and struck a Heavenly Dao mutated beast, sending it flying. No, that's not right. Lu Ming muttered. That strike earlier did not erupt with much force. After all, the primal chaos domain is different from the spear domain. However, the primal chaos domain contains the spear domain. Will definitely work. Let's give it another try. Lu Ming kept thinking. The long spear in his hand did not stop, continuously striking. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The long spear of the primal chaos domain kept striking, sending the Heavenly Dao mutated beasts flying. Lu Ming kept experimenting. Time passed quickly. Soon 2 hours had passed. However, Lu Ming was still fighting with the Heavenly Dao mutated beast. Below the floating platform, a group of people was waiting in astonishment. What's going on? Lu Ming is on the 6th floating platform. There's no golden light on his body. He should still be fighting with the mutated beasts in the heavenly battlefield. Why hasn't it ended after 2 hours? That's right. What's going on? If he failed, he would have been sent flying. It's very likely that he's holding on. He bet 500,000 contribution points with Silver City. He doesn't want to lose, so he gritted his teeth and held on to kill more mutated beasts. That should be the case. Many people guessed. Silver City clenched his fists tightly. He was nervous. This was related to his 500,000 contribution points. In the heavenly battlefield, Lu Ming was still fighting with the mutated beasts. But, with a jolt of his spear, he struck one of the mutated beasts, causing a violent burst of energy to burst forth. Bang! The beast suddenly exploded and vanished into thin air. It's a success. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The spear just now was a success. In an instant, 4 types of force erupted. The force was shocking, and it defeated the heavenly Dao mutated beast. Swoosh! The 4 types of force went through the tip of the spear and pierced the mutated beast's body. The mutated beast was directly pierced and killed. 4 types of force. That's enough. A smile emerged on Lu Ming's face. The long spear moved freely. As long as the mutated beasts were swept, smashed, or pierced, they would die in one blow. In just a few minutes, all 108 mutated beasts were killed by Lu Ming. On the 6th floating platform, Lu Ming's body suddenly emitted a golden light. Lu Ming had passed the 6th floating platform. Damn it! Silver City clenched his fists tightly. His eyes were incomparably gloomy. How could this be? Silver City's other companions shouted in disbelief. Lu Ming was only a level 3 domain expert. It was unbelievable that he could pass the 6th floating platform. This had never happened before in the history of Dragon God Valley. Senior brother Silver City, what should we do? Are we really going to give Lu Ming 500,000 contribution points? A young man asked Silver City. 500,000 contribution points? He's dreaming. Silver City gritted his teeth and muttered. 500,000 contribution points was equivalent to the price of half a sacred weapon. Right now, he only had slightly more than 500,000 contribution points. How could he possibly give them to Lu Ming? But, a young man hesitated. Junior brothers, did Lu Ming injure you before? Then I'll have to trouble you again. Silver City looked at the 3 young men who were injured by Lu Ming's roar and said coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, 3 types of force silently struck the 3 young men. The 3 of them groaned and blood flowed out from the corner of their mouths. I've injured your internal organs, so you'll have to maintain this injury. Do you understand? Silver City instructed. Yes. The 3 young men quickly nodded. Although they were angry, they didn't dare to disobey. Do you think it's that easy to get my contribution points? Chapter 1501. On the 6th floating platform, Lu Ming continued to refine the Heaven Path mark. After refining the Heaven Path mark, Lu Ming opened his eyes and smiled. Peak level 3. Lu Ming muttered. His chaotic territory had finally reached peak level 3. The 200,000 origin stones were worth it. However, it wasn't easy to break through to level 4. A level 4 territory was equivalent to a middle martial king's territory. There was a hurdle that wasn't easy to cross. Lu Ming stood up and looked at the 7th floating platform. He then turned around and looked at Silver City. Lu Ming didn't continue to go up. Instead, he took a step forward and landed below the floating platform. He could continue to go up the floating platforms as long as he paid the origin stones. He had to get the 500,000 contribution points from Silver City first. I passed the 6th floating platform, but you didn't. I've won the bet. Hand over 500,000 contribution points. Lu Ming looked at Silver City and said, 500,000 contribution points? What 500,000 contribution points? Silver City pretended to be dumb as he sneered. Lu Ming frowned. Silver City was obviously trying to renege on the bet by pretending to be dumb. Are you trying to act dumb? Hee, there are many people here who can be witnesses. Lu Ming said. Witnesses? Why didn't I hear it? I didn't hear it either. A few of Silver City's companions said coldly. Did you hear it? Silver City's cold eyes looked at the others. Many people's faces changed and they looked fearful. Silver City was Yin Feng's cousin. Silver City's grandfather was the younger brother of Silver Dragon Valley Master. In Silver Dragon Valley, he had a strong backing and many people didn't dare to offend him. Although some people didn't like Silver City's character, they looked away and didn't say anything. Lu Ming sneered as a ray of light flashed in his eyes. I can be a witness. Just now the two of you did make a bet. It was 500,000 contribution points. At this moment a timid voice sounded. Swoosh. His words caused Blizzard Silver City and his companions to look towards the source of the voice. Lu Ming also looked over. It was a young woman. Her figure was petite, but her skin was fair. Her appearance was delicate and pretty, and she was extremely cute. At this moment, when Silver City's gaze swept over them, their faces turned pale, their bodies trembled, and they could not help but retreat. Little girl, what did you say? Yinqing said coldly. I don't want to lie. You two did make a bet just now. Although the young woman was very scared, she still spoke. Good, very good. The sharpness in Yinqing's eyes intensified. Murderous intent filled the air. What? When others speak the truth, you want to kill them. This is the style of the Silver Dragon Valley, just like Yin Feng. Looks like I have to report this to the Dragon Punishing Palace. Lu Ming sneered and took a step forward, standing in front of the young woman. Also, 500,000 contribution points. Hurry up and hand it over. Lu Ming continued. Ah, Lu Ming, you're really naive. I was just casually mentioning the bet before, but you took it seriously. We didn't even sign anything. Yinqing quibbled. So, everyone in the Silver Dragon Valley is like this. From top to bottom, they're all despicable people. What a disgrace to the Divine Dragon Valley. In my opinion, the Silver Dragon Valley is purely a malignant tumor of the Divine Dragon Valley. Sooner or later it will be removed. Lu Ming shook his head and sneered. How dare you? Who do you think you are? How dare you criticize the matters of the Silver Dragon Valley? A young man beside Yinqing shouted. Lu Ming, you're the lawless one. You have no respect for the law and you're harming your fellow disciples. Previously you injured 3 of my junior brothers for no reason. I'm going to settle this with you. Yinqing shouted and pointed at the 3 young men beside him. The 3 young men looked pale and their auras were weak. The coldness in Lu Ming's eyes intensified. Previously, his shout had injured the 3 of them, but it was only a minor injury. With the strength of their spiritual bodies, those minor injuries would have healed by now. But now they looked as if they were seriously injured. It was obvious that they did it on purpose. Lu Ming, you injured the disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley for no reason. How should you be punished? Now hand over 500,000 contribution points as medical fees. Yinqing shouted in a domineering manner. Who are you? How dare you injure the disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley? At this moment, a cold voice resounded from a floating platform. A figure floated down. It was a cold-looking young man. Senior brother Ding Mao. Yinqing and the others were overjoyed when they saw the young man. They quickly greeted him. Senior brother Ding Mao, it's Lu Ming. He injured the 3 disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley for no reason. I'm going to ask him to pay for the medical fees. Yinqing said. Lu Ming. When Ding Mao heard Lu Ming's name, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Murderous intent flashed across his eyes as he said coldly, Humph, how can he be so lawless just because he's the direct disciple of the Cloud Dragon Valley Master? Ask him to pay for the medical fees and bring him to the Dragon Punishing Palace. Yes, Yinqing replied. He was emboldened. He stared at Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, hurry up and hand over 500,000 contribution points. Follow us to the Dragon Punishing Palace. Some people at the side. The Silver Dragon Valley had gone too far. Originally, Yinqing and Lu Ming had made a bet of 500,000 contribution points. In the end, Lu Ming won. Not only did Yinqing not pay up, but they even pinned a big hat on Lu Ming. They wanted Lu Ming to hand over 500,000 contribution points and bring Lu Ming to the Dragon Punishing Palace. How despicable. However, they could only think about it in their hearts. So what if they were despicable? Who asked Yinqing and the others to be so powerful? What would Lu Ming do? Hand over or not? Many people looked at Lu Ming and guessed what Lu Ming would do. Haha. Lu Ming wore a calm expression, but the flicker in his eyes grew sharper. If you don't hand over 500,000 contribution points today, don't even think about leaving this place. Lu Ming said in a cold tone. The hearts of many shuddered. How arrogant. Lu Ming ignored the nonsense that the Silver City had said earlier. He wanted the Silver City to hand over 500,000 contribution points. Ding Mao's figure emitted a cold glow as he said, This guy is too stubborn. Take him down first. Bang, bang, bang. Yinqing and the others unleashed powerful auras. Lu Ming, how dare you kneel down at once? Yinqing yelled as he unleashed his cultivation and threw a punch in Lu Ming's direction. Yinqing's cultivation had reached the peak of the 5th layer martial dominator realm, while his domain had reached the 6th layer, granting him a shocking strength. The other two young men were 5th layer martial dominators with powerful strength too. You're the one kneeling down. Lu Ming's gaze turned cold. Two rays of black light pierced out like divine swords, entering Silver City's body and bombarding his soul. After cultivating for a period of time, Lu Ming's godly sword technique had become extremely shocking. Chapter 1502. Bang. Lu Ming lashed out with his palm, causing the chaotic domain to form a giant palm print that crushed onto Yinqing's figure. Following a thud, Yinqing immediately dropped to his knees before Lu Ming. Previously he had asked Lu Ming to kneel down, but now he had knelt down himself. Following this, Lu Ming threw out 2 punches in succession. The terrifying force sent the other 2 young men flying, causing them to vomit mouthfuls of blood. At that instant, 2 of the young men with cultivation of the 5th layer martial dominator realm from the Silver Dragon Valley were sent flying, while the last one knelt before Lu Ming. The others nearby were dumbfounded. Lu Ming had grown stronger. His strength was even stronger than when he had killed Yin Feng. How shocking. Was he really a cultivator from a desolated island? He was unbelievably strong. They finally knew why the valley leader of the Cloud Dragon Valley had recruited Lu Ming as his disciple. The valley leader had recognized Lu Ming's talent. Buzz. At that instant, a shocking aura burst out from Ding Mao's body, causing a terrifying pressure to crush Lu Ming's figure. Bang. It felt like a huge mountain was crushing onto Lu Ming's figure. 7th layer martial dominator realm. Lu Ming's heart shuddered slightly. Ding Mao was a 7th layer martial dominator realm expert, a high-ranked martial dominator realm expert. Lu Ming, how bold of you to injure 3 disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley, and now you're attacking again. This person should be punished severely. I'll cripple your cultivation and hand you over to the Dragon Punishing Palace. Ding Mao snapped coldly as he took a step forward. A dragon's roar could be heard from his body. Whoosh. Following this, Ding Mao grabbed at Lu Ming's figure with his claw. In the process, Ding Mao's palm and arm emitted a brilliant silver glow, as a layer of silver dragon scales appeared on them. 13 accumulating blows. A long spear of the martial dominator realm appeared in Lu Ming's hand. With a shudder, the spear transformed into a beam of light that pierced forward. Ding. The spear stabbed into Ding Mao's palm. Lu Ming felt an incomparably terrifying energy surge toward the spear, causing it to bend slightly. But in an instant, 10 bursts of power erupted from the long spear, forming an incomparably sharp aura, wanting to pierce through Ding Mao's palm. Ding Mao's expression changed and he roared, his terrifying power exploding out. Bang! Lu Ming was shaken by this force and his body flew out. He crashed heavily into the wall of a snow mountain at the edge, causing the snow mountain to explode with a rumbling sound. But at the same time Ding Mao also took a step back. 7th layer of the Martial Emperor realm, as expected of a high-level Martial Emperor. How powerful. With a thought, Lu Ming felt the blood and qi in his body churning. He almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This brat! Killing intent exploded from Ding Mao's body. His hand was trembling slightly. The dragon scales on his palm had been shattered, and a trace of blood could be seen. His palm was almost pierced through by Lu Ming's spear. Kill! Roar! A dragon's roar could be heard. The silver glow on Ding Mao's body became even brighter, as if he had turned into a silver dragon, lunging at Lu Ming. At that instant, a giant hammer flew toward them from the entrance of the floating platform. The hammer tore through the air with a terrifying roar, aiming at Ding Mao. Ding Mao's expression changed greatly. He could not care less about Lu Ming. He let out a roar and threw his palms at the hammer. Dong! Dong! Ding Mao's palms collided with the hammer, resulting in 2 deafening vibrations. The terrifying sound waves caused many of the weaker cultivators to turn pale and retreat. Whoosh! The hammer was sent flying by Ding Mao, but Ding Mao himself was also sent flying back 100 meters. Only then did he land on the ground, his hands trembling. Bang! Bang! From the direction of the entrance, a tall and sturdy figure rushed over and caught the iron hammer. Every step he took caused the ground to rumble. How arrogant of the Silver Dragon Valley. A 7th layer martial emperor dares to attack my junior brother, a 3rd layer martial emperor. How embarrassing. The bulky figure spoke with a booming voice. The person was a young man with a bulky figure, who was 2 heads taller than Lu Ming. His muscles bulged like a ferocious dragon. He was holding a giant hammer in his hand. However, the hammer was quite unique, as its handle was longer than a person's body, while its head was the size of a water jar, giving it a shocking appearance. Tianshui, it's you? Ding Mao glanced at the young man and said coldly. Tianshui, 7th senior brother. Lu Ming's heart shuddered. The Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley had only recruited 3 core disciples in the past 10 years. They were him, Xuanixin, and Tianshui, Lu Ming's 7th senior brother. It's your grandpa Tianshui? Tianshui let out a grin before glancing at Lu Ming and saying, so you're my 9th junior brother, Lu Ming? Impressive. Thanks for your help, 7th senior brother. Lu Ming let out a smile. Ah, don't mention it. I'll teach these sons of bitches a lesson. Tianshui let out a grin and glanced at Ding Mao with a ferocious look. Come, do you think you're that impressive? Let your grandpa Tianshui have some fun with you. Tianshui, if you dare to interfere, I'll take you down too. Ding Mao said coldly. How are you going to take me down? Tianshui wore a ferocious look as his muscles bulged as he stomped his foot on the ground. Bang! Tianshui's figure sprang toward Ding Mao like a ferocious dragon, while the giant hammer in his hand was swung in his direction. Rumble. It was as if the giant hammer had penetrated the rift, resulting in a terrifying gust of wind. A silver glow burst out from Ding Mao's body as a layer of silver dragon scales appeared on his body. A pair of silver gloves appeared on his hands. The gloves of a martial dominator weapon. Silver Dragon Battle Fist. Ding Mao uttered a roar as he lashed out with both fists. Dong. Ding Mao's fist collided with the giant hammer, causing the sky to tremble vigorously. Tianshui and Ding Mao's figures shuddered violently as they were knocked backward. Following this, they uttered furious roars and collided with one another once again. Peak 5th layer martial dominator realm with a 6th grade domain. Senior brother Tianshui, such a powerful strength. Lu Ming observed from the side and was secretly astounded by Tianshui's strength. A cultivation of the peak 5th layer martial dominator realm with a 6th grade domain was able to fight against Ding Mao, who was a 7th layer martial dominator realm. It seems like none of my senior brothers and sisters are easy to deal with. Lu Ming wore a smile. Kill. At that instant, Tianshui let out a roar as he became more excited as the battle progressed. It was as if he had transformed into a ferocious dragon as he lashed out at Ding Mao with his giant hammer. Gradually, Ding Mao was at a disadvantage as he was suppressed by Tianshui. Tianshui has become stronger. The people of the Cloud Dragon Valley are indeed crazy. Indeed, it's too terrifying. That Xuanixin, Lu Ming and the Cloud Dragon Valley are all crazy. Their strength is too shocking. I've heard that none of the 9 disciples of the Cloud Dragon Valley Master are easy to deal with. The people of the Dragon Valley began to discuss among themselves. Chapter 1503. Tianshui had completely gained the upper hand in the battle. Bang! Following a loud explosion, Ding Mao was sent flying by Tianshui's hammer. He slid a few hundred meters on the ground, leaving a long ditch behind him. Ding Mao's arms trembled vigorously as a trail of blood ran down from his lips. Ding Mao was injured. He was no match for Tianshui. A high-level martial emperor of the 7th layer of the martial emperor realm was no match for a peak martial emperor. Many people looked at Tianshui in shock. Lu Ming, a 3rd layer martial dominator, could easily crush a 5th layer martial dominator. And now, Tianshui, with a cultivation of the peak 5th layer martial dominator, was suppressing a 7th layer martial dominator. The disciples of the Cloudy Void Valley were utterly terrifying. Is this all you've got? So this is the strength of a 7th layer martial dominator? How ordinary. The people of the Silver Dragon Valley are arrogant and disrespectful, but they are all trash. Tianshui swung his giant hammer, causing it to emit a disdainful sound. Ding Mao wore an unpleasant expression, but he could not refute it. The truth was that he was no match for Tianshui. The faces of the disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley reddened, but no one dared to say a word. Lu Ming, I'll let you go this time. Let's go. Ding Mao glared at Lu Ming coldly. With a cold snort, he turned and walked toward the exit of the floating platform. The disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley, including Yinqing, were planning to leave too. Wait. Lu Ming snapped. Ding Mao halted and glanced at Lu Ming. What do you want? Do you really think I'm afraid of you? I'm not talking to you. I'm looking for him. Lu Ming glanced at Yinqing and said, You owe me 500,000 contribution points. Pay me the full amount before you leave. In your dreams. Yinqing yelled furiously. Previously, he had been forced to his knees by Lu Ming with a single blow. It was such a great humiliation that he could not wait to skin Lu Ming alive. Don't even think about it. You lost 500,000 contribution points to me in a bet and you want to go back on your word? I've said it before. If you don't pay up today, don't even think about leaving. Lu Ming's voice was cold. I told you I was just saying it casually. Yinqing said coldly. Aha, just saying? So what you Silver Dragon Valley people say is all bullshit? Fine, if you admit it, everyone in the Silver Dragon Valley is spouting nonsense, and I'll pretend it never happened. Lu Ming said. Yinqing was tongue-tied. How could he admit to this? This wasn't just about him, it was about the whole Silver Dragon Valley. The Valley Lord, the Elders, and some geniuses were in the Silver Dragon Valley. How could he represent the Silver Dragon Valley? If he really admitted it, he wouldn't be able to stay in the Silver Dragon Valley in the future. A bet? Are there any witnesses? Ding Mao said coldly. Everyone here is a witness. Lu Ming scanned the scene. Is that so? Who's a witness? Ding Mao scanned the crowd and revealed a hint of threat. Since you're a witness, you'd better not lie. Tell the truth, Tian Shui said from the side. He scanned the crowd like a savage beast and said, if I find out who's lying, my hammer is too slippery and I can't hold it properly. Don't blame me if such a big hammer suddenly falls from above your head when you're outside. As he spoke, Tian Shui's hand slipped and the water tank-like hammer fell to the ground. Boom. The ground rumbled and a deep pit was formed. Cracks spread out like a spider web. Many people gasped. The ground was very hard, but it was terrifying that Tian Shui's hammer could make such a dent in the ground. The weight of the hammer was too shocking. If it landed on a person's body, the person's bones would definitely be broken. Those with a weak cultivation would be smashed to death. They had a bet. A timid voice was heard. It was the same timid young lady from before. This made Ding Mao's eyes turn cold. That's right. They bet on who could step onto the higher floating platform. The higher the platform, the winner. In the end, Lu Ming won. That's true. At this moment, the others started to speak. Firstly, they were afraid of Tian Shui. Secondly, the people from Silver Dragon Valley were too overbearing and they were unhappy. When the others at the scene spoke, Yinqing's face turned ghastly. If you're willing to bet, you must be willing to admit defeat. Hand over your contribution points. Otherwise, you can stand still and take a blow from my hammer. Tian Shui grinned. Yinqing trembled. What a joke. Taking a blow from Tian Shui? Wouldn't that be courting death? Since you've lost, hand over your contribution points. At this moment, Ding Mao spoke coldly. He had suffered some injuries in the battle with Tian Shui and needed to go back to heal. Moreover, it was Yinqing's contribution points, not his. He wanted to leave this place quickly so as not to embarrass himself. Yinqing was about to cry. However, since Ding Mao had spoken, he had to hand over his contribution points today even if he didn't want to. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to leave this place. In the end, Yinqing had no choice but to transfer 500,000 contribution points to Lu Ming's Identity Jade Token. Lu Ming's Identity Jade Token had an extra 500,000 contribution points. Yinqing's heart was bleeding. He only had 500,000 contribution points in total. Now he was left with only a fraction. Let's go. Ding Mao snorted coldly and left with the rest of the Silver Dragon Valley. Thank you, 7th senior brother, for your help. Lu Ming cupped his fists at Tian Shui. Ah, we're brothers. Why are you being so polite? Tian Shui laughed. When I returned, I heard about junior brother's deeds. You killed Yin Zhang's precious grandson in front of him. How satisfying. You're a real man. I wanted to look for you for a drink, but you weren't around. Hence, I came to the floating platform to cultivate. I didn't expect to bump into you, haha. Tian Shui laughed heartily. Isn't it easy to drink? I just earned a lot of contribution points. I can drink at any time. Lu Ming laughed. Tian Shui's character was similar to Yan Kuangtu's. Lu Ming had a good impression of him. Alright, I'll be waiting, Tian Shui said. At this moment, Lu Ming walked towards the timid girl and said, Thank you for speaking out earlier. May I know your name? I'm Su Lei, the young girl said. Her voice was still timid and very Burmese. After chatting for a while, Lu Ming knew that Su Lei was a disciple of Purple Dragon Valley. Junior brother, they said that you won the bet against Yinqing. Which platform did you step on? Tian Shui asked curiously. I just passed the 6th platform and came down. Lu Ming said. Past the 6th platform? Can you continue? Tian Shui asked curiously. I should be able to. Lu Ming said. He had integrated the chaotic domain into the 13 strikes, which greatly increased his power. It was quite easy for him to pass the 6th platform. Lu Ming reckoned that he should be able to handle it if he stepped on the 7th platform. You can step on the 7th platform with a level 3 domain. That's sick. Chapter 1504. Lu Ming smiled bitterly as he rubbed his nose. Isn't the other party a freak to be able to suppress Ding Mao with his cultivation of level 5 Martial King Realm? Junior brother Lu Ming, why don't we have a competition to see who can step onto more floating platforms and kill more heavenly law mutated beasts? What do you think? Tian Chue's eyes were filled with intense battle intent. I've long heard that senior brother Tian Chue likes to battle and is bloodthirsty. It seems like it's true. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as he nodded and said, "Sure. Then let's do it." Tian Chue was excited. Lu Ming nodded and went to the counter to pay another 200,000 mid-grade origin stones. Every time he stepped onto a floating platform, he would have to pay 200,000 mid-grade origin stones. It was indeed expensive, but the effect was also shocking. To Lu Ming it was definitely worth it. Of course, it wasn't worth it for those with low domain level to come here because they would be blasted off after stepping onto 1 or 2 floating platforms. Their harvest might not even be worth 200,000 mid-grade origin stones. Those who came here to cultivate were usually above level 4 or those who had reached a bottleneck in their domain. After Lu Ming paid the origin stones, he and Tian Chue each chose a floating platform and stepped onto the first floating platform. Just like before, the two of them sat cross-legged and were enveloped by inscriptions. Lu Ming wasn't in a hurry as he killed the heavenly law mutated beasts and comprehended the chaotic domain. Tian Chue did the same. Their speed was almost the same. They passed through the first floating platform at almost the same time and stepped onto the second floating platform, then the third floating platform. They went up one floating platform after another. After passing through the 6th floating platform, Lu Ming's chaotic domain had reached the limit of level 3 and was only a step away from level 4. Next he could start to break through to level 4. The 7th floating platform, level 7 domain, how strong will it be? Standing on the 6th floating platform, Lu Ming muttered, "Ah, junior brother, I'll go first." At the side, Tian Chue laughed and took a step forward, stepping onto the 7th floating platform. Lu Ming smiled and stepped onto the 7th floating platform. He then sat down cross-legged and inscriptions covered Lu Ming. In the next moment, Lu Ming appeared on the Heavenly Law battlefield. A Heavenly Dao rare beast appeared. It had 7 golden marks on its forehead, and a powerful aura surged toward Qin Nan. Whoosh. In the next moment, the Heavenly Law beast arrived in front of Lu Ming. Boom. A spear appeared in Zhang Xian's hand, and with a sweep, it landed on the body of the mutated beast. Boom. The exotic beast was immediately sent flying, falling a few hundred meters away. However, it immediately shook its head and stood up again, completely fine. So strong. Lu Ming's heart trembled. A Grade 7 Heaven's Path mutant beast was far stronger than a Grade 6 one. Even if he were to use his full strength, he still wouldn't be able to kill it. At this time, more Heavenly Law beasts appeared and pounced on Lu Ming. His long spear vibrated as Lu Ming charged into the horde of strange beasts. Bang, bang, bang. Zhang Xian's long spear swayed, forming numerous spear shadows that continuously struck the Heavenly Law beasts. The Heavenly Law beasts were sent flying like sandbags, but they were all fine. They shook their heads and stood up again, pouncing on Lu Ming. Whoosh. The long spear turned into a rainbow light, and with a burst of power, it pierced through a Heavenly Law beast. However, this Heavenly Law beast wasn't dead yet, and it continued to entangle Lu Ming. When the other Heavenly Law beasts attacked, Lu Ming could only retreat. However, he was still scratched by one of the mutated beasts, and he felt a tearing pain. The long spear that pierced through the Heavenly Law beast turned back into the primal chaos domain and dissipated. Then it condensed in Lu Ming's hand. At the same time, 7 golden marks flew into Lu Ming's body. The mutated beast that was pierced through was finally dead. This won't do. I'll be injured if I kill one. It'll be very difficult for me to get to the 7th floating platform. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. If he used this method of exchanging injuries, he would be killed before he could kill all the mutated beasts. Once he was killed here, his consciousness would return to his body, and it would be equivalent to a failure. The 13 strikes of storing power isn't enough. It's only equivalent to the 2nd level. If it's equivalent to the 3rd or 4th level, I'll be able to burst out with the power of the 6th or 8th level. Then, passing this floating platform won't be a problem. Lu Ming thought. Lu Ming wasn't in a hurry to kill the mutated beasts. Instead, he used the mutated beasts to cultivate the 13 strikes of storing power, and slowly integrated the 13 strikes of storing power into the primal chaos domain. The mutated beasts were sent flying one by one, but they stood up again. The long spear was like a dragon, and the sky was filled with spear shadows. More than 100 mutated beasts attacked, but they couldn't break through Lu Ming's defense. After an unknown period of time, bang! A mutated beast was swept away by Lu Ming's spear, and half of its body exploded. It stood up and swayed a few times before falling down again. 7 golden marks flew into Lu Ming's body. The 3rd level, the power of the 6th level. Lu Ming was overjoyed. The 13 strikes of storing power broke through again, and its power increased greatly. Originally, he had cultivated the 13 strikes of storing power to the 5th level, and could unleash the power of the 10th level. Now that he was simply integrating it into the primal chaos domain, the difficulty was much lower, and the speed was much faster. With a sweep of the spear, the power of the 6th level was stacked together, and the power suddenly increased by 6 times. Bang! One of the beasts was sent flying and exploded into pieces. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming's long spear was like a true dragon, constantly bombarding the mutated beasts. The mutated beasts were killed one by one, and densely packed golden marks flew towards Lu Ming and into Lu Ming's body. Not long after, when Lu Ming stabbed the last mutated beast with his spear, his consciousness returned to his body. Lu Ming opened his eyes and looked at Tian Shui. He realized that Tian Shui's body was emitting a golden light, and was refining the golden marks. Tian Shui passed it earlier than Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled. This was normal. After all, Tian Shui's domain had already reached the 6th level. Moreover, Tian Shui's domain was no small matter, and its power was very strong. It was normal for him to pass it earlier than him. Lu Ming immediately began to refine the Heaven Path imprint that he had obtained earlier. Half a day later, Lu Ming completely refined the Heaven Path imprint. I still haven't broken through. It seems that it's not easy to break through the 4th level domain. Lu Ming shook his head. He looked at Tian Shui and saw that Tian Shui was looking at him. Junior brother is really amazing. You can actually pass the 7th floating platform with a 3rd level domain. I'm impressed. Tian Shui grinned. Senior brother is the amazing one. I still lost to senior brother. Lu Ming smiled. Haha, junior brother, do you still want to pass the 8th floating platform? If you want to pass the 8th floating platform, then I, your senior brother, will directly admit defeat to you. Tian Shui laughed straightforwardly. No. Lu Ming shook his head. Chapter 1505. After all, his chaotic domain was only at the 3rd level. Even if his attack power was strong, his defense would be weak. He would probably be killed after 1 or 2 attacks. Lu Ming wasn't confident that he wouldn't be attacked by 108 mutated beasts. Unless his chaotic domain reached the 4th level, he wouldn't have the confidence to challenge the 8 floating platforms. Senior brother, I need some time to digest it. You can continue. Lu Ming clasped his fists and said. Haha, go. Tian Shui laughed. Lu Ming jumped down from the floating platform and flew towards the snow mountain. He had already challenged the heaven-span floating platform twice, absorbing and refining a large number of heavenly Dao imprints. These heavenly Dao imprints were refined in one go, and he needed time to properly digest them. When he stepped onto the heaven-span floating platform again, the effects would be much better. If he kept challenging the floating platform and absorbing the heavenly Dao imprints, not only would the effect not be good, there might even be problems. Hence, caves were opened on the snow mountain for the cultivators of the Dragon God Valley to digest and refine their heavenly Dao imprints. Lu Ming entered an empty cave, closed the door and sat down cross-legged. His chaotic domain spread out as he quietly comprehended. A few days later, Lu Ming walked out of the cave and stepped on the floating platform again. Just like that, a month passed in the blink of an eye. After a month of hard work, his chaotic domain finally made a breakthrough and reached the 4th level. Its power increased greatly. This made Lu Ming sigh. The difficulty of breaking through his chaotic domain was indeed shocking. In a month, he had spent tens of millions of mid-grade origin stones, which were equivalent to 100,000 contribution points. Finally, his chaotic domain broke through. After the breakthrough, Lu Ming didn't leave and continued to cultivate on the floating platform. The chaotic domain had broken through to level 4 and its power had increased tremendously. Lu Ming had also integrated the 13 accumulated strikes perfectly into the chaotic domain. Every move could unleash an attack of tenfold. He had successfully cleared the 8th floating platform and his cultivation speed had increased by a few notches. In the blink of an eye, another month passed. Lu Ming's chaotic domain gradually approached the peak of the 4th level. At this time Lu Ming had no choice but to leave. That was because the floating platform was about to close. The floating platform required a large amount of energy to operate. Moreover, it had to be closed for maintenance every once in a while. Otherwise, the energy would be insufficient and the floating platform would have problems. It would be closed for 2 to 3 months. In fact, the floating platform would be closed for a few months after it was opened for 3 months. Junior brother, let's return to the Cloud Void Valley. Tianxue walked to Lu Ming's side. For the past few months, Tianxue had been cultivating on the floating platform. The aura on his body was getting stronger and stronger. The power of his domain was also getting more profound. Some time ago he even broke through to level 7. Like Lu Ming, he had also cleared the 8th floating platform. Lu Ming smiled. The two of them flew towards the Cloud Dragon Valley together. They met Xuaningxin as soon as they returned to Cloud Space Valley. Xuaningxin gritted her teeth and stared at the two. No, junior sister. We were about to go for a drink. We came back to call you. Tianxue quickly quibbled. Big Chue, don't call me junior sister. I'm not the youngest anymore. Lu Ming is the youngest. He's our junior brother. Xuaningxin glanced at Tianxue and said. Lu Ming smiled bitterly and changed the topic. Senior sister, you said you had something to ask us. What is it? I almost forgot. I want to ask you to go to Tsang Mountain. The treasure sorting assembly will begin in less than 2 months. Many of the younger generation are rushing to Tsang Mountain. Xuaningxin said. Starting so soon. I almost forgot. Tianxue scratched his head and smiled. Treasure sorting assembly? Lu Ming was puzzled. Junior brother, you don't know yet. Let me tell you. Seeing the puzzled look on Lu Ming's face, Xuaningxin's interest was piqued. She acted like a senior sister and explained to Lu Ming. As the name suggests, the treasure sorting assembly of the Tsang province is to decide which sect will keep the 2 ancient treasures. Every 3 years, the 13 top sects of the Tsang province will gather in the Tsang Mountain and send out their younger generation to compete in a series of competitions. In the end, the sect that wins first place will continue to keep the 2 ancient treasures. After 3 years, the treasure sorting assembly will be held again to decide who will keep the 2 ancient treasures. Xuaningxin explained. Lu Ming was enlightened. So that was the case. It was held once every 3 years. Whoever was more powerful would be able to keep the 2 ancient treasures for another 3 years. I wonder what kind of treasure it is that the 13 top sects are so interested in it? Lu Ming asked. Xuaningxin said, I heard that one of them is a fragment of the suppressing prison monument. A fragment of the suppressing prison monument? Lu Ming was shocked. Lu Ming had never thought that one of the treasures would be a fragment of the suppressing prison monument. Didn't the Heavenly Divinity sect have a fragment of the suppressing prison monument? Could it be that the sect that won last time was the Heavenly Divinity sect? Junior brother also knows about the fragment of the suppressing prison monument. Although the suppressing prison monument is a legendary treasure that is said to be able to suppress all evil, it's broken and can't exert much of its power. It's said that if all the fragments can be combined, there will be a great secret. There's another treasure that's the key. It's also the focus of all the sections. It's said that this treasure contains the secret to becoming a martial emperor. Xuaningxin said. The secret to becoming a martial emperor. Lu Ming was even more shocked. That's right. It's a pity that these 2 treasures have been in the hands of the sects for so many years, but none of the sects have been able to obtain them. However, none of the sects would give up. They all want to keep the treasures in their hands and continue to study them. The Heavenly Divinity sect has won first place several times in a row. Xuaningxin. The Heavenly Divinity sect indeed. Lu Ming nodded his head as his eyes flickered passionately. He was more interested in the fragment of the suppressing prison monument. Although he was curious about the other treasure that was related to the secret to becoming a martial emperor, he was not too interested in it. The sects had been studying it for so many years without any success. He did not think that he would be able to discover any secrets. Senior sister, are we going to the Tsang Mountain to take part in the trial? Lu Ming asked. Of course not. Xuaningxin shook her head and said, the sects have already decided on the candidates for the trial. They are all powerful cultivators among the younger generation. Some have even reached the peak martial dominator realm, while the weakest among them has reached the 7th layer martial dominator realm. Those below the 7th layer martial dominator realm are not qualified to take part in the trial. Even if they do, it's useless. Chapter 1506. Although those below the 7th layer martial dominator realm are not allowed to participate, many people will be there to spectate. After all, it's a grand event held once every 3 years in the Tsang continent. Some of the top geniuses of the Tsang continent will be there. It's beneficial for one's cultivation to witness their battles. Besides, the top 10 young geniuses of the Tsang continent will be there too, Xuanixin said. Her eyes flickered with a hint of yearning. The top 10 young geniuses of the Tsang continent? Lu Ming mumbled. The top 10 young geniuses of the Tsang continent were the strongest among the younger generation of the Tsang continent. It was said that each of their cultivations had reached the peak martial dominator realm, granting them a shocking strength. Bai and I belonged to the younger generation. It was said that the top genius among the younger generation of the Dragon God Valley was one of the top 10 young geniuses. Let's go then. I'd like to witness it too. I missed it 3 years ago due to my cultivation. I can't afford to miss it this time, Tian Shui said. Sure, let's go. Lu Ming and Xuanixin nodded. The three flew out of the Cloud Dragon Valley. As they left the outer valley of the Dragon God Valley, Tian Shui waved his hand, summoning a sky-piercing shuttle. It was a long journey to the Tsang Mountain, thus it was most suitable to take the sky-piercing shuttle. The three entered the sky-piercing shuttle. The interior of the sky-piercing shuttle was spacious, with runes flashing on its surface. There was a crystal glass at the front that reflected the scenery outside. Let's go. Tian Shui uttered a roar and activated the sky-piercing shuttle. Whoosh! The sky-piercing shuttle sprang into the sky at a shocking speed. Through the crystal glass, one could see endless mountains and rivers flashing past. It's so comfortable to have a sky-piercing shuttle, Lu Ming exclaimed in his heart. The sky-piercing shuttle could be activated with an origin stone. It was extremely convenient to cultivate and travel at the same time. Lu Ming had long wanted to buy one, but the price of a sky-piercing shuttle was too high. He could not afford even the lowest-grade sky-piercing shuttle. Little junior brother, it will take you half a month to get to Tsang Mountain, even if you take the sky-piercing flying shuttle. You can practice here, Tian Shui said. Lu Ming nodded. The three of them each chose a spot and sat down cross-legged. Time flew and 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. Boom. Suddenly, the void-piercing flying shuttle shook violently and it stopped. Someone was attacking the sky-piercing shuttle. Lu Ming and the other two were shocked. They hurriedly ended their cultivation and looked outside through the crystal glass. In front of them there were more than 10 figures standing there looking at them coldly. Among the dozen or so figures, there were old men and middle-aged men. They all wore black robes and had fierce looks on their faces. You dare to attack my breaking sky shuttle? You're courting death. Tian Shui angrily shouted, opened the door of the flying shuttle and rushed out. Lu Ming and Xuanixin hurriedly followed him out. Who dares to attack my breaking sky shuttle? You're courting death. Tian Shui roared angrily as his ferocious gaze swept over the dozen people. So it's just a few brats and chicks. Ah, our luck is not bad. Now hand over the piercing sky shuttle and scram. A burly man shouted. It turned out that they were here to rob the piercing sky shuttle. Trying to rob my breaking sky shuttle? Tian Shui stared at the burly man coldly. Nonsense, didn't you hear what I said? Piss off at once and leave your storage rings behind. Otherwise you'll all die here. The burly man snapped as a powerful aura was emitted from his body. 7th layer martial dominator realm. This burly man possessed the cultivation of the 7th layer martial dominator realm. No wonder he did not treat them seriously. The people behind the burly man were not weak either. They were all at least 4th layer martial dominator realm. Leader, why waste your time talking to them? Just kill them. That chick is not bad. Leave her for us to enjoy. Behind the burly man, a skinny middle-aged man's eyes flickered with murderous intent as he glanced at Xuanixin. Courting death, junior brothers and sisters, leave this guy to me. I'll leave the rest to you, Tian Shui said. Saying this, a giant hammer appeared in his hand as he walked toward the burly man with a ferocious look. A 5th layer martial dominator realm cultivator dares to challenge me? Since you're courting death, I'll grant your wish. A giant saber appeared in the burly man's hand. He took a step forward and appeared above Tian Shui before slashing at him. You're the one who's going to die. Tian Shui snapped furiously as he swung his giant hammer at the burly man. Clang. The giant hammer and the saber collided, resulting in a loud explosion. The burly man's body shuddered violently as he was sent flying a few hundred meters in the air. How is this possible? The burly man yelled in disbelief. His opponent was only a 5th layer martial dominator realm cultivator, but he was able to send him flying with a single blow. He could even feel his arm trembling, causing him to almost vomit blood. 2 months ago at the sky-towering floating platform, Tian Shui was already able to suppress Ding Mao. Even though they were both at the 7th layer martial dominator realm, Ding Mao was obviously stronger than the burly man. Furthermore, Tian Shui's domain had now reached the 7th layer, thus his strength was even stronger. He could easily defeat the burly man. That's all you've got? I haven't even used half of my strength. Tian Shui charged at the burly man with his giant hammer. Let's go together. The burly man yelled. Kill. Instantly, the other cultivators unleashed their auras and charged at Tian Shui. Xuanixin took a step forward and appeared in front of a 6th layer martial dominator realm expert. She threw a punch forward, which shattered the expert's defense and blasted him into pieces. Meanwhile, Lu Ming dashed forward. Whoosh, whoosh. A long spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand. With a shudder, 7 or 8 spear rays were fired, each with the strength of a 10th layer attack. Unstoppable, unstoppable. The 8 cultivators, regardless of whether they were at the 4th layer, 5th layer, or 6th layer martial dominator realm, were all pierced through by Lu Ming's spear rays, killing them in the air. Devour. Next, Lu Ming clenched his left fist in the air and a terrifying devouring power erupted, shrouding these corpses. The blood and vital essence of the other party were all devoured by Lu Ming. They turned into dried corpses and fell to the ground. Although Lu Ming's cultivation was still at the 3rd layer martial dominator realm, he had reached the 4th layer martial dominator realm. Coupled with the terrifying strength of the 13 stored strikes, it was easy for him to kill ordinary 6th layer martial dominators. Lu Ming activated his devouring power and continued to refine the energy in his body. His cultivation was rising rapidly. During this period, he had been cultivating the chaotic territory and was about to reach the peak of the 4th layer. Therefore, his cultivation was rising rapidly. While Lu Ming was refining the energy, Xuanixin had also finished her battle. The others were all killed by Xuanixin. What a powerful combat strength. Xuanixin's cultivation was also at the peak of the 5th layer martial dominator realm, but her combat strength was astonishing. She could kill ordinary 6th layer martial dominators as easily as cutting vegetables. Don't waste it. Lu Ming unleashed his devouring power and devoured all the blood essences of the people Xuanixin had killed. Chapter 1507. Boom. At this time, the battle between Tian Shui and the burly man was nearing its end. Tian Shui's attacks were wild, and the burly man had no strength to resist at all. He was bombarded by Tian Shui until he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. In the end, he was smashed to the ground by Tian Shui, creating a huge pit. Spare me, spare me. The burly man looked around and screamed when he found that the people he brought were all killed. He knew that he had kicked an iron plate. These people were all monsters. You wanted to steal my shuttle and kill us, and now you want me to let you go? Ridiculous. Tian Shui revealed a sinister smile. The burly man felt a chill in his heart and shouted, "There's a reason why I wanted to steal your shuttle. It's because we found a place where a great treasure has appeared, but we need a shuttle to enter." A great treasure has appeared? Tian Shui, Xuanixin, and Lu Ming were stunned. That's right. As long as you promise to let me go, I'll tell you the location of the great treasure. The burly man shouted. It's true. Don't lie to me. Tian Shui's eyes were sharp. I swear that I won't lie to you, but you have to promise not to kill me. The burly man said. Okay, I promise not to kill you, I swear. Tian Shui immediately swore that if the burly man told him the location, he would not kill him. Half a day's journey from here to NATO, there's a lake called Qilong Lake. Legend has it that a powerful true dragon used to live there. Some time ago, there was a deafening dragon roar coming from Qilong Lake. The burly man said. A powerful true dragon is residing here? The 3 of them were stunned and curious. One had to know that among the 3 of them, there was also a pure-blooded true dragon. What does the dragon roar of Qilong Lake have to do with the shuttle? Tian Shui asked. That's because there's a strong murderous aura around the periphery of Qilong Lake. Without a powerful defensive treasure, it's difficult to rush in. The shuttle has amazing defensive power and speed, so it's definitely able to rush in safely. The burly man said. Now I've told you everything I know. Can you let me go? The burly man said. Bang. As soon as the burly man finished speaking, a fist bombarded his dantian, piercing through his dantian and shattering his spiritual spirit. It was Xuanixin. You're not trustworthy. The burly man roared, filled with indignation. I promised not to kill you, but my junior sister didn't promise not to kill you. Tian Shui smiled sinisterly. The burly man's life, calm. Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not mind. In the martial arts world, the strong preyed on the weak. This was especially so in Yuanlu. A soft-hearted person would not be able to go far. The devouring power erupted and devoured the energy of the burly man's blood essence. What a powerful secret. Tian Shui. He thought that Lu Ming was using a secret skill. Lu Ming smiled and did not explain. Tian Shui asked, "That's what I was thinking." Lu Ming said, "Of course." Xuanixin said, "Great, haha, let's go." Tian Shui said with a smile. The three of them boarded the void-piercing flying shuttle and flew towards the north at top speed. Lu Ming sat with his legs crossed, refining the energy in his body. The energy of more than 10 fourth-layer martial royal realm experts, including a 7th-layer martial royal realm expert, was constantly being converted into Lu Ming's true force. Lu Ming's true force continued to grow. Soon after refining the energy, Lu Ming's cultivation had improved and reached the late-stage 3rd-layer martial royal realm. They had arrived at their destination, the Dragon Lake. In front of them, the heavens and earth were filled with a thick black mist, which was the murderous aura. If a martial artist were to enter the mist, they would be corroded by the murderous aura, causing them to go crazy. In the worst case, their souls would be destroyed and they would die on the spot. Look, there are others. Through the crystal glass, they saw some figures standing outside the murderous aura, observing from afar. Some of them glanced in their direction with greedy eyes. Whoosh, whoosh. A few figures tore through the sky and flew toward them. One of them was even more imperious. He waved his hand, causing a giant palm to grab at the flying shuttle. It was obvious that he was trying to rob them of their flying shuttle, just like the others they had encountered before. "Humph, I'm too lazy to play with you." Tian Shui harumphed as he activated the flying shuttle. With a whoosh, the flying shuttle dashed forward and destroyed the palm, before dashing into the murderous aura. The cultivators came to a stop unwillingly. The flying shuttle flew straight into the murderous aura. "Look, there are other flying shuttles too." Xuanixin glanced outside and said. Lu Ming and the rest also saw it. Not far away from them there was also a flying shuttle that tore through the air and flew forward. At that moment, a dragon's roar could be heard coming from the front. It was even transmitted through the shuttle. A dragon's cry. Such an imperious dragon's cry, but it doesn't sound like it's coming from a real dragon. Xuanixin said with a serious expression. "It's not coming from a real dragon?" Tian Shui and Lu Ming raised their eyebrows. They knew that some real dragons would also let out a dragon's cry after they died. For example, they could also let out a dragon's cry after awakening their true dragon bloodline and condensing the true dragon war body. Ordinary people would not be able to tell the difference, but Xuanixin was a real dragon, so it was not surprising that she could tell. Could it be a cave abode left behind by a real dragon after it died? The three of them guessed as they continued to control the flying shuttle. After a while, they finally flew out of the murderous aura. A huge lake appeared in front of them. At a glance, it was like a vast ocean and there was no end to it. Moreover, there was no murderous aura here. So many people. Through the crystal glass, they looked outside and saw many figures above the lake. Some of them were flying above the lake as if they were looking for something. It seemed that many people had received the news. Some of them were very young and were very likely the prodigies of the top sections. The three of them got out of the flying shuttle. The flying shuttle shrank and was put away by Tian Shui. They looked around and saw more than 100 people. Some of them glanced at them and ignored them. "There doesn't seem to be anything here," Tian Shui said. The three of them flew above the lake and looked at the calm lake. There seemed to be nothing there. Boom. Someone attacked the lake, causing thousands of waves. What? Suddenly, a huge pincer reached out from the waves and clamped down on that person. That person screamed in pain as his body was clamped in half. Blood splattered on the lake, dyeing the lake red. Chapter 1508. Whoosh. Suddenly, a silver ray flew out from the other side of the lake and penetrated a human cultivator, causing his blood to splatter everywhere. Everyone saw that it was a silver swordfish. It was as long as a silver divine sword. After killing a cultivator, the swordfish dove into the lake and disappeared. Meanwhile, a few cries of agony could be heard as a few beasts dashed out from the lake and killed a few more cultivators. Crap. Many people were startled. Previously, the lake had been calm, thus they thought there were no living creatures under the lake. They did not expect so many beasts to attack them all of a sudden. Whoosh! The surface of the lake churned. This time, countless demonic beasts rushed out from the lake and attacked the crowd. Some of them were not strong, but some were extremely terrifying. Kill these beasts. Someone uttered a roar and attacked the beasts in the water. A chaotic battle instantly broke out. The beasts in the water were being killed continuously. None of the human cultivators were weak. A few of them had been killed due to their carelessness. Now that they were fighting back, a large number of beasts in the water were slain. Human cultivators, get the hell out of here. A giant octopus flew into the sky and uttered a thunderous roar. 8 giant tentacles danced in the air and wrapped around a 7th-layer Martial Dominator Realm expert. The 7th-layer Martial Dominator Realm expert was killed by the impact. Following this, it swung its tentacles and killed 2 6th-layer Martial Dominator Realm cultivators. Strong. This octopus was a 9th-layer Martial Dominator Realm cultivator. Son of a bitch, I'll slay you. An old voice could be heard as an old man approached the octopus and attacked it. The two began to fight fiercely. Lu Ming, Tianxue, and Xuaningxin were attacked too. A group of lobsters charged toward them. These lobsters were covered in armor, which was impenetrable by swords and spears. The one leading the group was a 7th-layer Martial Dominator Realm cultivator. Lu Ming's spear penetrated a 5th-layer Martial Dominator Realm lobster. How tough. Lu Ming had a feeling that the defense of the 5th-layer Martial Emperor Realm lobster was even stronger than that of many 6th-layer Martial Emperor Realm human cultivators. There are actually so many powerful demonic beasts in this lake. Not simple. Lu Ming pondered. Demonic beasts, as their cultivation level increased, would generally be divided into 2 types. The other was to take human form and form a force. They might even join a human sect to comprehend the great Tao of heaven and earth and cultivate the laws of heaven and earth. Their path of cultivation was very similar to that of humans, and they were known as demonic cultivators. As for the other type, they didn't take human form and instead remained in their beast form. They lived in the depths of the mountains and lakes and continued to cultivate according to their beastly nature. They developed their beastly body and retained their beastly nature. These types of beasts were generally known as savage beasts and savage beasts. Such savage beasts would be even more ferocious, and their battle prowess would be astounding. Obviously, the demonic beasts in the lake belonged to the category of ferocious beasts. The battle between the two sides was fierce. However, the human tribe had more experts. There were even some LV8 and LV9 Martial Royal Realm experts. They were all experts from the small forces near the Shilong Lake. Gradually, the human tribe gained the upper hand. The demonic beasts were killed one after another, and the surface of the lake was dyed red with blood. Hiss hiss. Suddenly, the surface of the lake became turbulent as a giant black shadow sprang out from the water and swallowed an LV8 Martial Royal Realm expert. It was a pitch-black giant snake over 1,000 meters long. Its aura was extremely ferocious and terrifying. Swallowing an LV8 Martial Royal Realm expert in one bite was too shocking. Crap, a peak Martial Royal Realm half-saint firmament water snake. Someone yelled in terror. Lu Ming and the others were astounded too. A peak Martial Royal Realm expert was also known as a half-saint. They were only one step away from entering the sacred realm and were extremely powerful. There was such a terrifying giant snake here. However, there was an even more shocking scene. Another firmament water snake appeared on the other side of the lake. Its aura was not weaker than the previous one. With a swing of its tail, it sent a LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert flying, causing him to vomit blood. 2 firmament water snakes. There were 2 such terrifying firmament water snakes in the Shilong Lake. Outsiders, get out of here. Otherwise, I'll kill you all. One of the firmament water snakes roared and soared into the sky like a real dragon. Its huge body rolled up and charged toward a LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert. The LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert was shocked. A LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert was basically at the peak of the Martial Royal Realm. However, compared to a half-saint, he was still far from it. Bang! The LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert was sent flying. He vomited blood and his face turned pale. If you don't leave, I'll kill you all. The other firmament water snake said coldly. How arrogant. Let's see who you can kill. At this moment, a cold voice came from the sky. Then, a milky white holy light fell from the sky and blasted toward one of the firmament water snakes. Hiss hiss. The firmament water snake opened its mouth and spat out a black stream of water toward the milky white holy light. However, the stream of water was penetrated by the holy light as soon as it came into contact with the holy light. The holy light fell on the firmament water snake. The firmament water snake screamed as its scales fell off and blood flowed out. So powerful. The crowd was shocked. The firmament water snake, which had reached the half-saint realm, was injured by a saint realm expert? Bus. A strong pressure came down from the sky. The crowd looked up and saw a young man in a white robe. Even his shoes were white. He walked in the air step by step, emitting a milky white holy light. He looked like a deity. The divine son of the divine sect. Xuanixin exclaimed when she saw him. Her pupils shrank. What? He is the divine son. Tianshui also exclaimed. Then a strong desire to fight appeared in his eyes. The divine son of the divine sect had a holy virgin and a holy son. However, there was only one person called the divine son. He was one of the top 10 geniuses of the Zhangzhou continent and the top genius of the divine sect. The divine son walked in the air. His powerful aura locked on to the firmament water snake. He looked up and said, Wang Jian, since you're here, why don't you attack? Haha, I wanted to watch the show. Since you're here, leave the other firmament water snake to me. A sword light flashed in the air. A young man with a long sword on his back appeared in the air. Wang Jian, the peerless genius of the Nine Heaven Sword sect and one of the top 10 geniuses of the Zhangzhou continent. Someone exclaimed. 2 of the top 10 geniuses of the Zhangzhou continent had come. Go away. Who are you? Go away. A firmament water snake roared and charged at Wang Jian. Divine son, let's see who can kill the firmament water snake faster. What do you think? Wang Jian said with a smile. He pointed his finger like a sword and slashed out. A shocking sword light slashed at the firmament water snake. A deep sword mark was left on the dark underworld water snake's body. That's exactly what I want. Wang Jian, I haven't seen you in 3 years. Let's see if you've improved. Chapter 1509. The 2 firmament water snakes were divided between the deity and Wang Jian, one for each of them. The 2 sides engaged in a fierce battle. The sword light was shocking, and the holy light filled the air. The 2 Tsangming water snakes were no match for them. So powerful. Is this the combat strength of the top 10 monsters of the Zhangzhou state? Lu Ming said in a low voice. The deity and Wang Jian had not reached the saint realm, but their combat strength was shocking. The 2 half-saint Tsangming water snakes were no match for them. Kill? After a few moves, Wang Jian yelled. The long sword on his back was unsheathed, and a terrifying sword light cut through the void. Puchi. Blood splattered everywhere. The Tsangming water snake's head was directly cut off by the sword light. Its huge body fell to the surface of the lake, and there was no sign of life. On the other side, the holy light on the deity's body condensed into a divine blade, and directly cut the Tsangming water snake in half. The 2 of them killed 2 Tsangming water snakes at the same time. Many people gasped when they saw this. They were too powerful. The half-saint Tsangming water snakes were no match for them at all. They were killed in just a few moves. Can one kill a saint without reaching the saint realm? Someone whispered. Impossible. The saint realm is too strong. It is a legend to kill a saint without reaching the saint realm. Although the top 10 monsters are strong, they are no match for a saint realm expert. Someone analyzed in a low voice. Deity, it seems that it is a draw. Wang Jian looked at the deity, and his eyes were full of fighting spirit. These 2 Tsangming water snakes are too weak. There is no point in competing. The deity said casually. Deity, I will defeat you in this treasure sorting convention. In Wang Jian's eyes, light burst forth, like 2 divine swords. 3 years ago you were no match for me. Now you are even less of a match for me. The deity said faintly with his hands behind his back. He was full of confidence. Humph, we will know who is the winner. Now let's take care of these demonic beasts. Wang Jian snorted coldly. His combat sword cut through the void, and beams of sword light fell down, killing the demonic beasts one by one. The divine child smiled indifferently and stepped out into the air. Holy light burst forth, killing the demonic beasts one after another. With the king's sword and the god's son taking action, it was a complete suppression. A large number of demonic beasts were harvested, and there was no room for others to intervene. The top 10 monstrous geniuses are the main force in every treasure ranking meeting. I went to see them once 3 years ago. Their battle prowess was extremely shocking. Now that another 3 years have passed, the battle prowess of the top 10 monstrous geniuses must be even more terrifying. Xuanixin said in a low voice. Lu Ming nodded his head. No wonder they were not allowed to participate in the treasure pedestal. Those below the 7th layer martial dominator realm were not qualified to participate in the trial. Lu Ming and his crew were too weak facing such a genius. They did not even have the chance to fight against him, as they would be defeated instantly. However, Lu Ming wasn't discouraged. These people were in Yuan continent and the cultivation environment was too good. In addition to their shocking talents, their cultivation was naturally high. However, Lu Ming was confident that in a few years he would definitely be able to catch up with these people, compete with them, and even surpass them. Can I participate in the next 3 years? Lu Ming was looking forward to it. There were 2 treasures in the treasure ranking meeting, and one of them was the fragment of the prison-suppressing monument. If he could help Dragon God Valley win first place and get the right to research the 2 treasures for 3 years, would he be able to get the fragment of the prison-suppressing monument? Many thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Blood splattered everywhere as a large number of demonic beasts were killed. Soon, almost all the demonic beasts in the Shilong Lake were slaughtered. Some of the weaker ones were so scared that they hid in the lake. The surface of the lake quieted down. At that moment, an earth-shattering dragon roar came from under the lake. However, after the dragon roar, the surface of the lake remained calm and nothing else happened. There must be something unusual at the bottom of the lake. Otherwise, how could there be 2 sage-level firmament water snakes in such a small lake? Wang Jian's eyes were like 2 divine swords as he stared at the surface of the lake, as if they were going to pierce through it. Let's just break it open and we'll know. The deity was extremely domineering. His body was bathed in holy light as if he was the son of a god. He took a step forward and the world shook. Then he stretched out a hand and clenched his fist downward. A powerful suction force burst out. The lake water below formed a funnel and was sucked up. Then the deity pressed his palm down. Boom. The lake water rushed downward again. The surface of the lake shook, and the center of the lake water that was pressed down was immediately pushed away. The lake water surged in all directions and an area without water appeared there. Slash. The deity whispered. A ray of holy light flew out and slashed at the bottom of the lake like a heavenly blade. Rumble. The bottom of the lake was directly split open and a huge crack appeared. However, the bottom of the lake was empty. There was nothing at all. The deity frowned. Whoosh. Below, the lake water surged, stirring up stormy waves. At that moment, another dragon roar was heard. There. Wang Jian looked around and took a step forward. He appeared dozens of miles away, and a shocking sword light bloomed from his hand and slashed at the lake. Whoosh. A sword mark that was 100 miles long appeared on the surface of the lake. The lake water was split open and a deep crack appeared at the bottom of the lake. A shocking dragon roar came from the crack. Following that, the shadow of a dragon rushed out of the crack. It was not a real dragon but a shadow. After rushing into the sky, it automatically dissipated. Rumble. Following that, a violent rumble came from the bottom of the lake, and strands of golden light spread out. There's something at the bottom of the lake. Many people's eyes lit up. The lake water boiled and rolled continuously. The bottom of the lake shook as if something huge was trying to break free from the bottom of the lake. In that area, the ground cracked open and endless lake water poured in. Rumbling sounds rang out continuously, and following that, a huge object appeared. It was a huge palace that shone with golden light. The walls and pillars were carved with lifelike dragons. Dragon Palace. It's a dragon palace. Someone exclaimed. Legend has it that a powerful dragon lived in the Shilong Lake in ancient times. It's true. This dragon palace is so majestic. The true dragon that lives here must be a Saint Realm true dragon. Many people's eyes lit up. There was a legend in the distant past. Many years had passed since then, and even if there was a Saint Realm dragon, it would have fallen. Then after the dragon fell, would it be in the dragon palace? How many treasures would there be in the dragon palace? No wonder there were so many powerful underwater monsters in the lake. There was a dragon palace under the lake. The ground collapsed and the lake water swept away. Soon, the entire dragon palace appeared in front of everyone. In front of the dragon palace was a wide passage that led to the gate of the dragon palace. The gate was tightly shut. Chapter 15:10. Whoosh. Suddenly, a figure dashed toward the entrance of the dragon palace. However, when he reached the passage in front of the entrance, the dragon statues on both sides of the passage let out dragon cries and emitted brilliant light. Then, the illusionary figures of the dragons charged toward the figure. The figure was a middle-aged man with a cultivation of the 4th layer martial royal realm. He was shocked and tried his best to defend himself. However, in the next moment, his defense was torn apart by the illusionary figures of the dragons and his body was torn into pieces. A 4th layer martial royal realm cultivator was killed in an instant. Some people gasped. It seemed that the dragon palace was not that easy to enter. The illusionary figures of the dragons are so powerful. They seem to be at the 7th layer martial royal realm. That's right. It seems that those below the 7th layer martial royal realm can't enter at all. Some people discussed. Let me have a try. An old man stepped forward and dashed toward the entrance of the dragon palace. Similarly, when he reached the passage, the illusionary figures of the dragons pounced on him. The old man unleashed his strength and continuously threw out palm strikes to collide with the illusionary figures of the dragons. The illusionary figures of the dragons were knocked away. The old man continued to move forward and soon arrived at the entrance of the dragon palace. Seeing this, more people flew toward the entrance of the dragon palace. However, most of them were above the 7th layer martial royal realm. They charged toward the entrance with all their might. The Divine Sun and Wang Jian also made their moves. The illusionary figures of the dragons did not obstruct them at all. Break the entrance. The Divine Sun stepped forward and threw a punch at the entrance of the dragon palace. Boom. The entrance of the dragon palace trembled violently as if it were about to be shattered. Guys, what are you waiting for? The Divine Sun said. Alright, let's do it together. The others also made their moves. There were about 20 of them in total, and all sorts of rainbow-colored lights slammed into the door. The door rumbled, and in the end, it was unable to withstand the pressure and exploded. Let's go. Whoosh whoosh. As soon as the entrance of the dragon palace was opened, the 20 people rushed into the dragon palace and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Senior brother, senior sister, do you want to try? Lu Ming looked at Tianxue and Xuanixin. Since we're here, let's try. Tianxue said. Xuanixin nodded. Alright, let's go together. Lu Ming said. Immediately, the 3 of them flew toward the gate of Dragon Palace. Many people looked at them in surprise. How bold of them, 2 5th layer martial dominators and 1 3rd layer martial dominator dare to challenge the Dragon Palace, how bold. Young man, newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. Someone said disdainfully. Lu Ming and the other 2 pretended not to hear anything. Just as they were about to reach the door, numerous illusory true dragons pounced on them. Scram. Tianxue roared and the huge hammer smashed forward. Bang. A true dragon phantom was sent flying. Xuanixin punched out and knocked away a true dragon shadow. Lu Ming held the long spear in his hand and swept it across, hitting one of them. Instantly, 10 types of power erupted from the long spear, sending the illusory figure of the real dragon flying. What? The true dragon's phantom was sent flying. Even that 3rd layer martial dominator was able to knock the illusionary dragon away. How is this possible? Those below the 7th layer martial dominator realm exclaimed in disbelief. Brr, brr, brr. There were sounds of dragon roars and more illusory shadows of true dragons pounced on Lu Ming and the other 2. The 3 of them stood in a triangle, each in charge of one side, and continued to attack. Bang, bang, bang. One after another, the true dragon phantoms were sent flying by them. Their formation was like a sharp knife as they charged towards the door. Soon, they broke through the obstruction of the true dragon phantoms and successfully reached the door. The illusionary true dragons must have weakened. Yes, after being attacked by so many people, the illusionary true dragons must have weakened. Otherwise, a 3rd layer martial dominator realm cultivator would not have been able to break through. This is our chance. Whoosh, whoosh. Immediately, a few people charged toward the gate of the dragon palace. Dragon cries could be heard as the illusionary true dragons pounced on them. Piss off. An old man with a cultivation of the 6th layer martial dominator realm threw out a punch in an attempt to knock the illusionary true dragons away. However, when his fist collided with the illusionary true dragons, his face turned pale as his bones were broken. He spat out mouthfuls of blood as his body was sent flying. Behind him, an illusionary true dragon flew past and tore him in half. At the same time, a few cries of agony could be heard as the others were killed on the spot by the illusionary true dragons. The remaining people were astounded. Some of the people who were about to charge forward halted in their tracks as their bodies were covered in cold sweat. They were secretly relieved that they had reacted too slowly. The power of the illusionary true dragons did not weaken at all. His strength was exactly the same as before. Those 3 young men were able to break through. Many people glanced at Lu Ming and the others in astonishment. They understood that the 3 of them were monstrous geniuses, and their battle prowess could not be judged by common sense. Meanwhile, Lu Ming and the others had charged through the gate of the Dragon Palace. Inside the gate was a spacious hall, with 2 entrances on both sides at the back. Which one? Tian Shui asked. Either one is fine. Let's go to the right, Lu Ming said. Tian Shui and Xuaningxi nodded. The 3 of them rushed through the door on the right and found that it was a passageway. After walking through the passageway, they found several long corridors with rooms on each side. When the 3 of them entered the rooms, they discovered that the rooms were completely empty. There was nothing inside. We're late. Everything has been taken away, Tian Shui said, because they could see that there were traces on the ground. There should have been things placed there before, but they were all taken away now. They should have been taken away by those who came in before them. Even the tables, chairs, flower trays and the like have been taken away. Lu Ming was a little speechless. Legend has it that the true dragons love to collect all kinds of treasures and precious materials. Some of the ordinary furniture is made of precious materials. Tian Shui muttered and glanced at Xuaningxi. What? You don't like it? Xuaningxi glared at Tian Shui. Tian Shui smiled foolishly. The 3 of them continued to move forward. When they passed by a room, they saw an old man inside wantonly collecting things. The tables, chairs, candlesticks, flower trays and the like were all taken away. Nestle, that flower pot is made of jade essence stone. Jade essence stone can be used to refine Emperor's spiritual weapons. Also, that table is made of dragon tooth jade. That's a material for refining saint weapons. Tian Shui's eyes widened as he exclaimed. The old man moved very quickly. With a wave of his hand, the entire room was emptied. Sure enough, the true dragons love to collect treasures. Those ordinary tools were all precious refining materials. It would be strange if they were not emptied. The old man glanced at them and was a little surprised, but he ignored the 3 of them and rushed to the other side in a flash. Let's hurry up too, or we won't even have soup to drink. Chapter 15:11. Lu Ming and the other 2 went around a corridor and came to a room. They finally realized that the room hadn't been plundered. The tables and chairs inside were all rare materials for refining weapons. The 3 of them put them away. Then they continued to move forward. However, this time they found that all the rooms had been plundered. The room they were in just now was a fish that had escaped the net. The 3 of them went past a few rooms and came to a side hall. The 3 of them stopped there. In front of them, a young man in a white shirt stood with his hands behind his back. He was looking at a painting on the wall of the hall. There were a few true dragons in the painting. They were so lifelike that they looked as if they were going to jump out of the painting. Divine Son. Lu Ming and the other 2 were stunned. This young man was the Divine Son of the Heavenly God sect. Hearing the noise, the Divine Son turned around and looked at Lu Ming and the other 2 coldly. Disciples of the Dragon God Valley. No wonder you can come here. Get lost. The Divine Son said coldly. The last word, get lost, was like the roar of a god. Sacred light burst out and a terrifying wind swept towards Lu Ming and the other 2. The 3 of them were shocked. They released their Zhen Yuan and domain to defend themselves. However, the wind was too violent. It kept bombarding their bodies. The 3 of them felt as if they had been struck by lightning. They were forced to retreat. They felt their blood and qi surging. They almost coughed up blood. The Divine Son cast a cold glance at the 3 of them once again. With a wave of his hand he put away the picture scroll. He seemed to be disdainful of dealing with the 3 of them. With a sway of his body, he left through a passageway. He's just scolding them. They just have a higher cultivation. Why do they act so high and mighty? Tian Shui scolded unhappily. Lu Ming didn't say anything. The martial world was like that. If you were strong you could do whatever you wanted. If you weren't strong enough there was no point in talking. The 3 of them chose another direction and moved forward. Soon they passed by a hall. There were fist-sized pearl of the night inlaid on the wall. Xuaningxi's eyes lit up. She plucked out the pearl of the night pearl one by one and put them away excitedly. Lu Ming and Tian Shui looked at each other. This luminous pearl was a treasure to ordinary people, but to martial artists, it was no different from a piece of trash. It was completely useless. It said that true dragons like to collect treasures, especially shiny things. It's true. Tian Shui muttered. What do you know? Xuaningxi glanced at Tian Shui with disdain. Boom. Boom. At this moment their expressions changed. That was because there was an intense rumbling sound coming from ahead of them. Someone is fighting, or? Tian Chui raised his eyebrows. Let's go take a look. Be careful, Lu Ming said. The three of them retracted their auras and headed toward the source of the voice. Soon the three of them walked out of a large door and arrived at a huge hall. The hall was extremely spacious and could probably hold hundreds of thousands of people. In the middle of the hall was an enormous metal coffin. The giant coffin was engraved with the image of a true dragon. Layers of inscriptions filled the coffin. Dragon coffin. The three of them were shocked. It was obviously a dragon coffin. At this moment, a few experts were attacking the dragon coffin. However, the inscriptions on the dragon light formed a light screen that blocked the dragon coffin. Boom, boom, boom. Those experts were all above the 7th layer of the Martial Emperor realm. There was even a cultivator of the 9th layer of the Martial Emperor realm. Dazzling lights shot out from his hands and bombarded the light screen of the dragon coffin. The light screen shook, but it couldn't be broken in a short time. When Lu Ming and the other two arrived, the experts turned around and glanced at them. When they saw that the strongest among the three of them was only a LV5 Martial Royal Realm expert, a hint of disdain flashed in their eyes and they were ignored. A dragon coffin. At this moment, a LV8 Martial Royal Realm expert arrived and joined the others to attack the dragon coffin. The loud rumbling attracted the experts over. Gradually, more and more experts gathered. Clang. A young man stepped out from one direction with a towering sword chi. It was Wang Jian, the genius of the 9 Heaven Sword sect. Bang. In another direction, the divine sun stepped out from the sacred light. The two top geniuses of the Tsang continent had arrived at the same time. A dragon coffin. The divine sun's eyes shone brightly. Get lost, a bunch of trash. The divine sun shouted coldly. He stepped out and appeared in front of the dragon coffin. Sacred light burst out from his body and two experts were sent flying by the divine sun's sacred light. Damn it. The two experts roared in their hearts, but they did not dare to say anything. Boom. The divine sun's palm hit the light screen of the giant coffin. The light screen shook violently as if it would collapse at any time, but it held on in the end. Ah, divine sun, it seems like you can't do it. Let me help you. Wang Jian sneered. Sword chi burst out and a terrifying sword chi slashed at the light screen. The light screen shook violently, but it was not broken. Let's attack together. The divine sun glanced at the others coldly and said coldly. Bang. Then the divine sun stepped out. The dazzling sacred light turned into a divine saber and slashed at the light screen of the dragon coffin. At the same time, Wang Jian slashed out with his sword. The others gritted their teeth and attacked as well. With so many people attacking together, the power was terrifying. They bombarded the light screen together, causing it to shake violently. Crack. The light screen made a cracking sound and a crack appeared. The light screen cracked open. The crowd was excited and continued to attack. Finally, with a bang, the light screen exploded. The inscriptions on the huge dragon coffin dimmed and finally disappeared. At this time, everyone's eyes fell on the dragon coffin. What was in the dragon coffin? Was there really a true dragon buried there? Open. The divine sun was bathed in sacred light. A huge palm condensed in the air and slammed heavily on the dragon coffin. Rumble. The lid of the dragon coffin was opened. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this time, the crowd rose into the air and looked into the dragon coffin. Dragon. A true dragon. There really was a true dragon lying in the dragon coffin. The true dragon was pitch black. Its black scales revealed a sparkling luster. There were 2 dragon horns on its head and 5 dragon claws on its abdomen. It was a black dragon. The dragon's body exuded a mysterious aura. Sage state. This true dragon had definitely reached the sage state when it was alive. A sage state true dragon was full of treasures. Back then, Lu Ming had spent 2 million contribution points to redeem 15 pounds of sage state true dragon bones with complete spirituality. One could see how precious they were. Even if this true dragon's corpse had lost some of its spirituality, it was still priceless. Whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, someone moved and pounced at the true dragon's corpse. You're courting death. How dare you touch my true dragon? Kill. The divine sun shouted coldly. Sacred light burst out and turned into a divine saber that slashed out. Chapter 15:12. Deity, aren't you being too overbearing? We opened the dragon coffin together. Everyone who saw it has a share. Don't tell me you want to monopolize it? LV9 Martial Royal Realm Elder shouted angrily. Get lost. If you don't die. The Divine Sun said coldly, unusually overbearing. Ha, Divine Sun, it's not that easy for you to monopolize this true dragon. Wang Jian sneered. The Divine Sun glanced at him coldly, but he did not say anything. Strength spoke louder than words. He could not ignore Wang Jian's strength. The others looked pale. It was difficult for them to fight against Wang Jian and the Divine Sun. Everyone, the Sacred Realm Dragon Corpse is extremely rare. Since we have seen it, how can we not get a share? How about we join forces? The LV9 Martial Royal Realm Elder said. Okay, I agree. I agree too. The others said one after another. The figures of more than 10 experts flashed and gathered together, standing on equal footing with the Divine Sun and Wang Jian. You're just a mob. Don't overestimate yourselves. The Divine Sun said coldly and stepped toward the True Dragon Corpse. He wanted to keep the Divine Dragon Corpse. As long as he kept the True Dragon Corpse, no one could compete with him. Clang. Wang Jian also moved. How could he let the Divine Sun monopolize it? The other experts moved as well. There were 13 of them in total. 3 of them were LV9 Martial Royal Realm experts. The rest were LV7 and LV8 Martial Royal Realm experts. Even a sage-to-be expert could not ignore them when they gathered together. The 3 parties pounced toward the True Dragon at the same time. Lu Ming and the other 2 stood at the side of the hall and watched coldly. With their strength they could not interfere at all. The Divine Sun and the others ignored them. Get lost. Get lost. The Divine Sun shouted. Sacred light condensed into a divine saber and slashed out a dozen times at Wang Jian and the other experts. Clang. Sword radiance burst out and clashed with the divine saber. The space was filled with the sound of sword chi and saber radiance. The other experts also tried their best to resist the saber radiance. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the deity grabbed the True Dragon's corpse with his hand, intending to put it into his storage ring. Don't even think about it. At the same time, Wang Jian also grabbed out a big hand and collided with the Godchild's big hand. It's ours. The dozen or so people strode forward and grabbed at the dragon corpse. At this moment, an earth-shattering dragon roar erupted from the dragon pavilion, forming a terrifying sound wave that swept out in all directions. The Divine Sun and Wang Jian's expressions changed slightly. They each unleashed a blade light and a sword chi to break through the sound wave. Apart from the 2 ninth-layer martial dominators who managed to resist the sound wave, the rest were knocked backward. Some of them even vomited blood. Lu Ming and the other 2 also did their best to resist. However, they were relatively far away, so the power of the sound wave was greatly reduced, and they were able to block it with relative ease. What happened? Everyone at the scene was greatly shocked. A dragon's roar came from the dragon coffin. Could it be that this true dragon was still alive? Then another dragon roar sounded, and it also came from the dragon coffin. Bang! Bang! Next, a series of banging sounds could be heard from within the dragon coffin. The black dragon actually stood up and roared. It looked around, its huge eyes shining with a ferocious light. How can this be? The Saint True Dragon is still alive? No, the Saint True Dragon is dead. This is just the immortal mark of the Saint True Dragon. Many people spoke out. The last voice shocked everyone. They sensed carefully and found that there was no sign of life in this true dragon. It had indeed been dead for many years. The reason why the true dragon could move was because of the immortal mark. It's already dead. What's the use of resisting? Today it's destined to be mine. The Divine Sun said coldly. The sacred light on his body became even brighter. He grasped the void with one hand, and a long spear appeared in his hand. Many people were shocked. This was the Divine Retribution Spear, the Divine Retribution Spear. Kill. The Divine Sun shouted. The Divine Retribution Spear pierced through the void and stabbed toward the true dragon's corpse. As long as the Divine Retribution Spear destroyed the immortal mark of the Saint True Dragon, the Saint True Dragon would be completely dead. The black true dragon roared and clawed out. Boom. The dragon claw collided with the Divine Sun's Divine Retribution Spear, causing a violent roar. The black true dragon's body trembled, and the Divine Sun took 2 steps back. After all, the Saint True Dragon had been dead for many years. The immortal mark left behind could not possibly have the combat strength it had when it was alive. On the other side, sword light flashed and Wang Jian appeared. The black true dragon swung its tail and blocked Wang Jian's sword light. Then the dragon's horns glowed. 2 beams of black light burst out and slashed toward the Divine Sun and Wang Jian. The Divine Sun's divine retribution spear struck again and destroyed the black light. On the other side, Wang Jian also destroyed the true dragon's black light. You've been dead for many years and you still want to resist. Today I'll make you disappear completely, the Divine Sun said. His glabella glowed and a small pagoda flew out. It was a small white jade pagoda. As soon as it flew out, it rapidly expanded and emitted a milky white sacred light. Its aura was shocking. A sacred weapon. Someone whispered. Boom. The Divine Sun used a sacred weapon. With his cultivation, controlling a sacred weapon was shockingly powerful. The white jade pagoda pressed down on the black true dragon. Brr. The black true dragon roared, and its dragon claws slammed into the white jade pagoda, causing a violent roar. Boom. The white jade pagoda shook, but the true dragon's corpse was also shaken and retreated. Then the white jade pagoda slammed down again. Although the true dragon roared again and again, it was still suppressed. Brr. The black true dragon roared and abandoned the Divine Sun. Its body twisted and it rushed toward the top of the hall. It wanted to escape. Today you can't escape. The Divine Sun waved his hand, and an inscription talisman scroll appeared. The inscription talisman scroll opened, and dense inscriptions shone. Buzz. A large array appeared and suppressed the void. What a wonderful inscription talisman scroll. It can actually seal the void. Next to the hall, Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. The inscription talisman scroll of the Divine Sun was very wonderful. It could seal the void and imprison it. In this way the black true dragon would not be able to escape. Divine Sun, you're really generous. You're even willing to take out an ancient inscription talisman scroll like the God's forbidden void. Wang Jian said. Humph. The Divine Sun snorted. He took a step forward and appeared above the black true dragon. The white jade pagoda pressed down again and completely obliterated the black true dragon's mark. Bubbles? At this time no one noticed that Lu Ming had sent a voice transmission to Bubbles, who was on his shoulder. Then Bubbles opened its mouth and waved its little claws forward. Crack, crack. Chapter 15:13. The inscription talisman of the God's forbidden void had failed. Since the void imprisonment failed, the inscription talisman burned and turned into ashes. Inscription talismans were usually one-time use items. Brr. After the void imprisonment failed, the black real dragon let out a long roar. Its dragon power was vast and mighty, and its entire body emitted a black light. Boom. The black real dragon struck out with its dragon claws and heavily bombarded the white jade pagoda, causing it to fly out. Then the black real dragon let out a long roar and soared into the sky. It smashed a hole in the ceiling of the hall and flew out. Whoosh! Gravel flew everywhere and a huge hole appeared above the dragon palace. The black real dragon wanted to break through the sky and fly out. Who is it? The deity roared and looked around, emitting an extremely cold murderous intent. Just now, someone had secretly broken his God's forbidden void, allowing the black real dragon to escape. A great opportunity had been destroyed, and he had lost an ancient God's forbidden void inscription talisman. This made the deity's murderous intent extremely intense. No one made a sound. Swoosh! A sword light flashed, and the king's sword soared into the sky and chased after the black real dragon. The deity roared and also soared into the sky, chasing after the black real dragon. Let's go and take a look. That's right, we should at least get a share. The other experts soared into the sky and rushed toward the hole in the ceiling. Above them light scattered. The black real dragon had directly pierced through the roof of the dragon palace and rushed out of the dragon palace. Is that a real dragon? No, a real dragon's corpse? Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming and the rest could still hear the voices coming from outside. Obviously, those who couldn't enter the dragon palace exclaimed when they saw the black real dragon fly out. Brr. Boom. Then a dragon's roar resounded. Obviously, the black real dragon had been caught and a huge battle broke out between it and the deity and the rest. Chirp chirp. Bubbles chirped on Lu Ming's shoulder. Lu Ming smiled. Just now, it was Lu Ming who had let Bubbles destroy the deity's forbidden void. Bubbles was a spacetime spirit mouse and could control time and space. It could secretly destroy space without anyone noticing. What should we do? Are you going out to watch the show? Tian Shui spoke, feeling a little depressed. In this trip to the Dragon Palace, they didn't get anything except some refining materials. As for the true dragon corpse, they could only look at it and not fight for it. How could they not feel depressed? True dragons usually like to build a hidden treasury. I reckon that it hasn't been discovered yet. Xuanixin said. Treasure vault? Tian Shui's eyes lit up. Xuanixin was a real dragon. She knew the habits of real dragons very well. Xuanixin nodded and said, that's right. Besides, the treasury is very well hidden. It's probably not far away from the true dragon's corpse. If it's not far away, then it's very likely that it's in this hall. Lu Ming said. That's right. Shui Xian nodded. Then let's hurry up and find them. When those guys come back, we'll have nothing to do with them. Tian Shui said. Then he rushed out and looked around to see if there were any hidden doors. Lu Ming and Xuanixin also looked around. However, no matter how many people looked around the hall, they didn't find anything. Could it be under the dragon coffin? At this moment, Lu Ming looked at the dragon coffin. Xuanixin's eyes lit up and said, that's possible. If it was under the dragon coffin, wouldn't it be the closest to the black true dragon? Ah, hurry up. Tian Shui rushed over and pressed his palms on the dragon coffin. His muscles bulged as he pushed with great force. Rumble. The huge dragon coffin was pushed up by Tian Shui. Lu Ming and Xuanixin also went over to help. The three of them worked together to move the dragon coffin. There's a door indeed. When the dragon coffin was moved, their eyes lit up. There was obviously a door under the dragon coffin. They could see that the true dragon's treasury was probably below. Break this door. A huge hammer appeared in Tian Shui's hand. Wait a minute. Lu Ming called out. Then his glabella lit up. Dense inscriptions appeared in the void, forming a large formation. This formation could isolate sound. This was the inscription of the second body. It was inscribing the formation through Lu Ming. Junior brother is still the most thoughtful. Tian Shui grinned, picked up the huge hammer and smashed it heavily on the door on the ground. Boom. The huge hammer smashed down and there was a loud explosion. If not for the soundproof formation, it would definitely alarm the people outside. However, when the huge hammer smashed down, the door on the ground was completely fine, only leaving a faint mark. It's so hard. I don't believe it. Again. Tian Shui continued to pick up the huge hammer and smashed it down again. However, it was useless. It did not budge. Tian Shui smashed it 7 or 8 times in a row, but the result was the same. No, I can't open it at all. Tian Shui said helplessly. This door can only be opened with a special method. Brute force is useless. Lu Ming observed carefully. I've heard that some true dragons will use their own blood as a key to seal the door of the treasure vault. Try my blood. Xuanixin thought for a while and said. Then Xuanixin waved her hand and cut a wound on her arm. Sparkling blood dripped onto the ground. Rumble. The ground suddenly shook and there was a rumbling sound. Then the door on the ground opened to both sides, revealing an underground secret chamber. As soon as the door opened, a bright light spread out from below. It's open. Let's go down. The three of them flew down with shining eyes. Below them was a secret chamber. As soon as they went down, the three of them were stunned. Treasures. They were all treasures. At a glance, they were all treasures piled up like mountains. There were all kinds of shiny refining materials. Some were for refining spiritual weapons and some were for refining sacred weapons. However, they all had one thing in common, which was that they were shining brightly. There were also all kinds of spiritual weapons. Lu Ming looked around and found that there were spiritual weapons of all levels. There were even low-level spiritual weapons. Each of them was shining brightly. Some of the spiritual treasures were even embedded with gems. He even saw piles of night pearl. Of course, there were also piles of origin stones. However, Lu Ming's gaze was fixed on the dozen balls of light floating in the air. Sacred weapons. More than a dozen balls of light, all of them sacred weapons. More than a dozen sacred weapons. Lu Ming's heart raced. Let's put them away quickly, Lu Ming said. If the Divine Sun and the others found out, they would not have a share. Yes, let's put them away quickly. We'll sort them out when we get out, Tian Shui said. Chapter 15-14. In less than a minute, the entire treasury was emptied. Nothing was left. Let's go. After that, the three of them rushed out of the treasury. Without any hesitation, they flew out through the hole created by the true dragon. Boom. Boom. In the outside world, the battle was still ongoing above the Qilong Lake. The deity, Wang Jian, and the others were still besieging the black true dragon's corpse. The black true dragon's body was emitting a black light, as if a black flame was burning. Its combat strength was even stronger than before. The true dragon's corpse is burning the mark to increase its combat strength. But soon the mark will disappear, and the true dragon's corpse will have no power to resist. Xuanning thought. The three of them flew to the side of the Qilong Lake and watched from afar. The deity controlled the white jade hall like the son of God. He was bathed in holy light and constantly bombarded the black true dragon. As for Wang Jian, a battle sword floated above his head. It was obviously a sacred weapon. Beams of terrifying sword light slashed at the black true dragon. As for the other experts, they could only watch from afar. They could not interfere at all. Brr. The black true dragon suddenly roared. 2 dragon horns flew out from its head and rapidly grew in size. In the end, they turned into 2 sky-piercing blades and slashed at the deity and Wang Jian. Clang, clang. The deity's white jade pagoda and Wang Jian's battle sword were sent flying by the dragon horns. The deity and Wang Jian's bodies shook and they were forced to retreat. Brr. The black true dragon roared angrily. Its body twisted and rushed into the distance. You want to leave? Dream on. The deity roared. He controlled the white jade pagoda and heavily bombarded one of the dragon horns. The dragon horn was sent flying. Its light dimmed and it quickly shrank. The deity rushed over and grabbed the dragon horn in his hand. On the other side, Wang Jian also grabbed a dragon horn in his hand. The two of them put away the dragon horns and turned into beams of light, chasing after the black true dragon. There are dragon scales over there. They're mine. As soon as the deity and Wang Jian left, the rest of the people rioted. In the battle just now, many dragon scales had fallen off the black true dragon. If these dragon scales were refined into defensive armor, they would definitely be rare treasures. The experts below all pounced on the 5 or 6 dragon scales one after another. A chaotic battle broke out at the scene. From time to time, experts would scream miserably as they were killed here. Senior brother, senior sister, let's go. Lu Ming said to Tianshui and Xuanning. They had gained a lot on this trip. They had emptied the treasury of a Saint Stage true dragon. It could be said that they were the biggest winners. This trip was worth it. There was no point in staying here any longer. All right. Tianshui took out the sky-piercing flying shuttle and the 3 of them entered it. The sky-piercing flying shuttle broke through the air and entered the baleful qi. Not long after Lu Ming and the others left, the deity and Wang Jian returned with cold faces. It was especially so for the divine child, whose body emanated cold killing intent. Clearly their harvest was not good. It was very likely that they had lost the black dragon. The deity's entire body seemed to have turned into a long spear, piercing through the void and charging toward the cultivators who were fighting over the dragon scales. Pucci. LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert was pierced by the divine sun and died on the spot. Today none of you will be able to leave, the deity said coldly. The deity's spear of punishment pierced through the void and another expert was killed. Previously, in the Dragon Palace, he had used the inscription scroll of the god's forbidden void to imprison the black dragon. That way the black dragon would not be able to escape and would be destroyed by him. The deity's mark would be destroyed and the true dragon's corpse would be his. However, at the critical moment he had been disturbed. Someone had destroyed the inscription scroll of the god's forbidden void, allowing the black dragon to escape. The inscription scroll of the god's forbidden void was an ancient inscription scroll that he had obtained by chance. It was extremely precious. However, if he could obtain the Saint Stage true dragon's corpse, it would be a great gain. However, he had not obtained the Saint Stage true dragon's corpse and the god's forbidden void ancient talisman had been wasted. This made him extremely murderous. Needless to say, the person who had destroyed the inscription scroll was among those who had entered the Dragon Palace. Therefore the deity had started a massacre. Pucci. One by one the experts were killed by the deity. The deity has gone mad. Run. The remaining experts fled in all directions. Don't even think about leaving, the deity said coldly. The white jade pagoda flew out and became the size of a mountain. The remaining people screamed miserably as their bodies exploded. Their bodies and souls were destroyed. The dozen experts who had entered the Dragon Palace were all killed by the deity in an instant, except for Wang Jian. Where are the 3 ants from the Dragon God Valley? The deity looked around and did not see Lu Ming and the other 2. However, he was not too concerned. He did not think that the 3 of them, who were at most level 5 Martial Royal Realm, would be able to destroy his god's forbidden void ancient talisman. Ho deity, you have suffered a double loss today. Wang Jian sneered not far away. You'd better shut up. Otherwise I'll kill you too, the deity said coldly. You can give it a try. Wang Jian said with fighting spirit. A fierce light flashed in the deity's eyes. However, he did not attack. Wang Jian's cultivation was at the same level as his, and he was also a peerless genius. It would not be easy for him to kill Wang Jian. The deity harumphed and took a step forward. He rushed into the dragon palace through the hole. He wanted to see if there were any treasures left in the dragon palace. As soon as he rushed in, his expression changed. He saw the dragon coffin being moved and the door under it. Empty treasury, damn it, it's the treasury of the true dragon. The deity growled. A sword glow flashed and Wang Jian appeared. He glanced around and said in a cold voice, "It seems like our hard work has been taken advantage of by someone else." Following this, the two of them rushed into the treasury. Their bodies emitted a cold, murderous intent as they stared at the empty treasury. This time they had worked so hard, but in the end, they had not obtained anything other than a dragon horn and a few dragon scales. Even the most important treasury of the true dragon had been taken away by someone else. In particular, the deity had lost an ancient talisman. "Who is it?" The deity roared furiously. His murderous intent was as sharp as a knife. Then, he flew out of the treasury and stood on the door of the treasury, carefully examining it. Blood of the true dragon. No wonder it can open the door of the treasury. The deity sensed the blood left behind by Xuanixin on the door. His eyes flickered with a cold light. Blood of the true dragon. It's the dragon from the divine dragon valley. It's those three ants. How dare they steal the empty treasury under my nose? They must have a death wish. After a while, the deity said in a cold voice. "How dare they?" Wang Jian said coldly. Then he turned into a sword glow and left the place. Following this, the deity stepped into the air with murderous intent. Chapter 15:15. Lu Ming and the other two took the flying shuttle and flew out of the area with the sinister aura very quickly. After flying out of the baleful aura area, the sky hammer changed its direction and flew towards the Tsang Mountains. As the shuttle flew, Lu Ming and the other two took out the treasures from the Dragon Palace treasury and began to divide them. First of all, there was a large pile of refining materials. There were all kinds of refining materials, both low-grade and high-grade. Xuanixin specifically picked the shiny refining materials. Lu Ming and Tianque were casual. After Xuanixin was done picking, the two of them divided the materials casually and kept them. It was the same for Xuanixin. She specially picked out the shiny and beautiful spirit weapons. As for those night-luminescent pearls, jade, and other gemstones that were useless to Lu Ming and Tianque, Xuanixin's eyes lit up. Lu Ming and Tianque were speechless. Finally, there were the holy weapons. There were a total of 13 holy weapons floating in the shuttle, emitting mysterious waves. The 13 sacred weapons were all bright sacred weapons. After all, a great saint weapon was too rare. In the Tsang province, it was an extremely rare item. There are 13 holy weapons in total. We each get 4, and the last one goes to 8th senior sister. This time, if it weren't for her, we wouldn't have been able to open the door of the treasury. 7th senior brother, what do you think? Lu Ming said. Of course. Skyhammer grinned. If I get one more, how can I accept it? Xuanixin said. But her eyes were already fixed on a long sword. This long sword was inlaid with 7 different colored gems. It was very beautiful. Lu Ming smiled and said, "Senior sister, you pick first." "I want this sword." As soon as Lu Ming finished speaking, Xuanixin grabbed the sword in her hand and couldn't bear to let it go. "You guys pick. This sword is enough for me. The rest is up to you," Xuanixin said. "Then this hammer is mine." Tianque had his eyes on a purple gold hammer. He grabbed it in his hand and was quite satisfied. "The handle of this hammer is too short. Looks like I'll have to find an inscriber to refine it." Tianque waved the big hammer a few times and was very happy. Lu Ming reached out and grabbed a spear in his hand. This long spear was completely black, and there was a black dragon coiling around it. It looked very mysterious and domineering. "I've finally gotten a saint weapon spear." Lu Ming broke into a smile. If he used the saint weapon spear, the power of the 13 strikes would definitely be even stronger. Unfortunately, there was no glove-type saint weapon among the 13. Now that the 3 had obtained holy weapons, they were very happy. Then they casually chose the remaining holy weapons. Lu Ming picked 3 more and so did Tianque. Xuanixin kept the remaining 4. This trip could be said to be a bountiful harvest. Putting everything else aside, just a single saint artifact was worth 1,000,000 contribution points. How many treasures could he exchange for with that amount of contribution points? As for Nirvana pills, he could probably exchange for a bunch of them. This spear shall be called the Black Dragon Spear. It'll last me for a while. I wonder when the Infinite Dragon Spear will be upgraded to a saint weapon. Lu Ming muttered to himself. At this moment, Ming Lian's second body came out of the mountain river diagram with the Infinite Dragon Spear floating in his hand. Pieces of precious refining materials were wrapped in golden spiritual fire and slowly merged into the Infinite Dragon Spear. Right now, Lu Ming had a lot of precious refining materials in his hands. As long as he continued to integrate precious metal materials into the Infinite Dragon Spear, it would level up. When he was not refining his second body, he would refine the Infinite Dragon Spear. I'll refine this Black Dragon Spear while I'm on the road. Lu Ming held the Infinite Dragon Spear and was about to input his ethereal force. Buzz. At this moment, the Black Dragon Spear vibrated slightly. Buzz. Buzz. Then, the Black Dragon Spear vibrated more and more violently. The body of the spear glowed, and the black dragon coiling around it seemed to come alive. What's going on? Xuanixin and Tianshui both looked over curiously. I don't know. The spear suddenly vibrated on its own. Lu Ming said. Buzz. The Black Dragon Spear vibrated and floated in the air. The tip of the spear automatically pointed in a direction. The tip of the spear is pointing in a direction. What's going on? Is there something in that direction that's attracting the Black Dragon Spear? Lu Ming guessed. As the sky-piercing flying shuttle flew forward, the tip of the Black Dragon Spear also turned slightly, but it always pointed in one direction. There was definitely something in that direction that was attracting the Black Dragon Spear. Junior brother, let's go and take a look. Xuanixin said. Okay, but we can't take the sky-piercing flying shuttle. Lu Ming said. The Black Dragon Spear belonged to the Black Dragon of the Dragon Palace. The Black Dragon Spear's abnormality might have something to do with the Black Dragon. However, they had seen the Divine Sun and Wang Jian chasing after the Black Dragon. If the Divine Sun and Wang Jian were in front of them, they had to be careful. The three of them got off the sky-piercing flying shuttle. Tianshui put away the sky-piercing flying shuttle. The three of them concealed their auras and flew forward according to the Black Dragon Spear's instructions. The more they flew, the more the Black Dragon Spear buzzed. Soon they flew into a mountain range. That's the body of the saint-level Black Dragon. Xuanixin exclaimed. Lu Ming and Tianshui looked in the same direction at the same time. In a mountain valley, a huge black dragon was lying there quietly. It did not emit any aura and did not move at all. The body of the saint-level Black Dragon escaped. The Divine Sun and the others didn't catch it. Xuanixin's eyes lit up. The mark on its body has completely disappeared. Lu Ming sensed and said. After the battle with the Divine Sun and the others, the immortal mark on the Black Dragon's body had disappeared. It was now a real dragon corpse. The three of them flew down the valley. Lu Ming and Tianshui looked at each other with burning flames in their eyes. Eighth junior sister, this? Tianshui hesitated, not knowing what to say. The dragon's corpse was priceless, but Xuanixin was a real dragon, just like the Black Dragon. If they touched the dragon's corpse, what would Xuanixin think? Therefore, Lu Ming and Tianshui were hesitant. Are you worried about me? You don't have to. Cultivation, whether for humans or monsters, is about plundering. Plundering the chi of heaven and earth, plundering the heaven and earth, plundering other people even if they're of the same race. Besides, this is a black dragon which is not of the same race as me. Xuanixin said. Then a sacred weapon appeared in Xuanixin's hand. She stabbed the dragon head and dug out a crystal from the dragon head. Dragon crystals were formed when true dragons entered the saint level, just like the saint heart of a human martial artist. This dragon crystal is mine. It'll be of great help to my cultivation. Xuanixin said. Okay, haha, junior brother, what do you need? Tianshui asked Lu Ming. I just need some dragon bones. Lu Ming said. Dragon bones from a true dragon were second only to true dragon blood essence for Lu Ming to cultivate the dragon god battle body. Chapter 15-16. Alright then. Junior brother, the dragon bones are yours and the dragon meat is mine. I have the barbarian dragon battle body and I can slowly raise the level of my spirit body by devouring its flesh and blood. Tianshui grinned. It can raise the level of my spirit body? Lu Ming's heart stirred and he was secretly shocked. This seventh senior brother was really something. Of course, he didn't think that Tianshui was talking about increasing the level of his spirit body. It was most likely an increase in the quality of his spirit body. His dragon god battle body was condensed from the 9 dragons' bloodline. Refining dragon bones and dragon blood could raise the level of his dragon body. He didn't expect that Tian Shui could do the same. It seemed that he wasn't the only one who had a strange physique that could raise the level of his spirit body. He just didn't know if Tian Shui's speed of improvement was as fast as his. Immediately, Lu Ming and Tian Shui separated the black dragon's flesh and bones. Tian Shui kept the true dragon's flesh while Lu Ming kept the dragon bones. As for the dragon skin and dragon scales, they were rare treasures that could be refined into leather armor and battle armor. The 3 of them divided it equally. 8th junior sister, 9th junior brother, let's find a place to cultivate. Tian Shui was eager to try. Okay. Lu Ming nodded. He had the same intention. Xuanixin also had the same idea. The 3 of them rose into the air and left. Soon the 3 of them arrived at a huge mountain range 1,000,000 miles away. They each opened a cave abode in the mountain range and entered it to cultivate. After Lu Ming entered the cave abode, he entered the mountain river diagram and took out the dragon bones. The dragon bones were extremely heavy. However, because this true dragon had been dead for many years, it had lost a lot of its spiritual essence. In total, it was still many times more precious than the dragon bones that Lu Ming bought in the Dragon God Valley. Devour. A powerful devouring force erupted from Lu Ming's body. The devouring force shrouded the entire dragon bone. Lu Ming continuously devoured and absorbed the essence of the true dragon's spirituality from the dragon bone and integrated it into his body. It transformed his body, causing his dragon body to transform and become stronger. This cultivation lasted for half a month. In half a month, Lu Ming had completely refined the dragon bones, leaving only a few impurities, which were reduced to ashes and scattered across the mountain and river diagram. Lu Ming's body seemed to be nurturing 9 dragons. At this moment, a dragon's roar resounded. Following that, 9 illusory dragons rushed out from Lu Ming's body, emitting a powerful pressure. Lu Ming's muscles wriggled slightly before calming down. His body was pure and holy, filled with power. Superior Earth spiritual body. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a bright light. Although this dragon bone had been dead for many years and had lost a great deal of its spiritual essence, it was still too complete. The added energy allowed Lu Ming's spirit body to complete its transformation and evolve into a superior Earth spirit body. What a powerful force! Lu Ming felt that his entire body was brimming with power. His every move was earth-shattering. It's much more powerful than a mid-tier Earth spirit body. Lu Ming waved his palm casually. There was a roar in the void, followed by a terrifying sonic boom. Although his cultivation was still at the 3rd layer martial dominator realm, his strength was significantly stronger than before. No wonder a superior Earth spirit body was considered one of the best in the Tsang continent. Only a few people possessed a superior Earth spirit body in the vast Tsang continent. Each of them was a terrifying genius. It was said that the top 10 geniuses of the Tsang continent all possessed superior Earth spirit bodies. I wonder if 7th senior brother and 8th senior sister are done with their cultivation? With a thought, Lu Ming exited the mountain and river diagram and flew out of the cave. He sensed that Tian Shui and Xuanixin were still cultivating. Lu Ming returned to the cave abode again. This time, Lu Ming did not enter the mountain river diagram. Instead, he cultivated in the cave abode that he opened up temporarily. Lu Ming took out a pile of origin stones and prepared to refine them to improve his cultivation. His chaotic domain was about to reach the peak of LV4, so his cultivation would naturally improve. 5 days passed in the blink of an eye after refining a large pile of origin stones. For the past 5 days, Lu Ming did not stop at all. He devoured and refined primordial stones like crazy. Even he did not know how many primordial stones he had devoured and refined. Boom! A powerful aura burst out from Lu Ming's body. This was the aura of a 4th layer martial dominator realm. Lu Ming had finally broken through the 4th layer martial dominator realm and entered the middle tier martial dominator realm. After entering the 4th layer martial dominator realm, Lu Ming's combat strength had undoubtedly increased again. At this moment, Lu Ming's combat strength was at least several times stronger than when he was in the Dragon Palace. At this moment, Lu Ming also felt 2 extremely powerful fluctuations nearby. After a while it became quiet. Senior brother Tian Shui and senior sister Shui have also broken through. Lu Ming's heart stirred and he dashed out of the cave abode. Whoosh, whoosh. As soon as Lu Ming came out, Tian Shui and Xuanixin also rushed out with shocking auras. Senior brother, senior sister, have you 2 broken through? Lu Ming said with a smile. Haha, I've eaten a huge amount of true dragon meat. I did not expect my cultivation to break through to the 6th layer martial dominator realm. Tian Shui burst out laughing. However, Lu Ming sensed for a while and discovered that Tian Shui's spirit body had indeed improved. However, it was not very significant and could not be compared to his improvement. This was not surprising, as his spiritual body was refined from the bloodline of the 9 dragons. His dragon god battle flesh was rarely comparable to it. It was already shocking that Tian Shui's spiritual body was able to improve slowly. I've refined the dragon crystal, and my cultivation has also improved to the 6th layer martial dominator realm, Xuanixin said. This time the trio had benefited greatly, allowing their strength to skyrocket. Tian Shui and Xuanixin already possessed outstanding strength. Now that they had broken through to the 6th layer martial dominator realm, their strength was even more terrifying. We'll cultivate in seclusion here for 20 days. There's only a month left until the treasure pedestal. Let's hurry to the Tsang Mountain, Xuanixin said. Let's go. Tian Shui took out the sky-piercing shuttle. The trio entered the shuttle and flew toward the Tsang Mountain at a rapid pace. 7 days later they finally arrived at the Tsang Mountain. They had not been idle during this period, as they had refined the sacred weapons they had found. In front of him, a majestic mountain appeared before his eyes. The trio exited the shuttle and gazed into the distance. The Tsang Mountain was too magnificent. It stood between the heavens and earth, with its peak piercing through the clouds like a pillar of the world. Given Lu Ming and the rest's current cultivation, as long as there were no obstacles blocking their line of sight, they would be able to see the scenery tens of thousands of miles away clearly. However, at a glance they could not see the edge of the Tsang Mountain at all. This showed how huge the Tsang Mountain was. The trio flew toward the Tsang Mountain. Bang! Suddenly, a loud explosion could be heard in front of them. Following this, they saw 2 figures colliding with one another as a saber glow was slashed forward. Following a cry of agony, a figure was slashed in half, causing blood to splatter everywhere. A young man carrying a saber on his back appeared and absorbed the storage ring of the slain cultivator with his chi. He then glanced at Lu Ming and the others before leaving the place. The people of the intentionless saber sect. Chapter 15-17. Looks like Tsang Mountain isn't peaceful, Lu Ming said. Indeed. The treasure-ranking assembly of the Tsang province is held once every 3 years. Countless geniuses from the 13 top sects of the Tsang province will gather at Tsang Mountain. Some of the 13 top sects have grudges against each other and fights often break out. Now that they are gathering at Tsang Mountain, it's normal for fights to break out because of a disagreement, Xuanixin explained. Xuanixin had been to Tsang Mountain 3 years ago, so she knew more about it. Tsang Mountain is the place where Emperor Tsang proved his Tao and became a great emperor. Therefore, many strong cultivators, including supreme saints and absolute saints, have come to pay homage to the place where Emperor Tsang proved his Tao. Therefore, there are many heavenly path marks left by strong cultivators in Tsang Mountain, which usually attracts many people. Let's go take a look, Xuanixin said. There's such a place? Of course we'll go. Tian Shui looked expectant. Then Xuanixin led the way and the 3 of them flew to the east of Tsang Mountain. The closer they got to Tsang Mountain, the more extraordinary they felt it was. It was as if there was a powerful aura here, as if a sovereign was hibernating here. They couldn't help feeling reverence for it. Along the way they could see that there were many buildings in Tsang Mountain. Although there weren't any top sects in Tsang Mountain, there were still some small forces here. Soon the 3 of them landed on a small path. There's a valley ahead, and there's a palm print left by a great Saint Senior. It's very mysterious. I came here 3 years ago to study it and I learned a lot, Xuanixin said and took the lead to walk forward. After walking for a while, they saw the entrance of a valley, but there were 2 young men guarding it. Stop. You're not allowed to pass. The 2 young men stretched out their hands to block their way, and one of them said coldly, What do you mean? Xuanixin's eyes turned cold. This place has been reserved by the Celestial God sect. You can go somewhere else. One of the young men sneered. Reserved by the Celestial God sect? Ridiculous. This place belongs to the world and anyone can come here. How come I didn't know it became the territory of the Celestial God sect? Xuanixin sneered. I said it's reserved, so it's reserved. Get out of here. A young man from the Heavenly Divinity sect berated in an overbearing manner. The Heavenly God sect is really domineering. Tian Shui's eyes flickered with a ferocious glint. If it weren't for the fact that he could sense that there were many powerful auras in the canyon, he would have already made his move. Let's go somewhere else. Xuanixin's eyes flashed with killing intent, but in the end she pulled Skyhammer and Lu Ming and left. Stop. Don't let them go. At this moment, a cold roar could be heard coming from the canyon. Stop. The two young men guarding the door appeared in front of Lu Ming's group with a flicker, blocking their path. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the canyon, a piercing sound could be heard as 5 young men rushed out and surrounded Lu Ming and his crew. Shutian. A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. Among the 5 people that rushed out, one of them was Shutian, the young leader of the celestial divine sect that had entered the great emperor mystic realm. Ah, Lu Ming, it's you indeed. Shutian burst out laughing while staring at Lu Ming with an icy expression. A murderous intent was emitted from his body. Lu Ming, you've killed so many disciples of the heavenly divinity sect in the Jianghu mystical ground. You won't be able to leave here alive today. A powerful aura was emitted from Shutian's body, locking onto Lu Ming's figure. Previously at the Jianghu mystical ground, before the ground had collapsed, Lu Ming had killed many disciples of the heavenly divinity sect, causing Shutian to hate Lu Ming to the core. Junior brother Shutian, there's no need for you to kill him. I'll kill him for you. A young man beside Shutian said. No need, I'll kill him myself. Shutian waved his hand and stepped forward. Bang. His aura skyrocketed, which finally stopped after reaching the 4th layer martial dominator realm. Shutian had found a succession in the Jianghu mystical ground. After he had returned, he had received the attention of the heavenly divinity sect. In addition to his outstanding talent, his cultivation had improved tremendously, ranking up to the 4th layer martial dominator realm. With the succession, his strength was even more terrifying. This time, he was confident that he would be able to kill Lu Ming to avenge his humiliation. Lu Ming died. A sacred glow burst out from Shutian's body as a godly retribution spear was formed, piercing through the air like a white lightning with a sharp aura, stabbing in Lu Ming's direction. If it were an ordinary 4th layer martial dominator or even an ordinary 5th layer martial dominator, they would be killed by the attack. However, Lu Ming was no ordinary cultivator. In an instant, the godly retribution spear was about to reach Lu Ming. At that moment, Lu Ming reached out his hand and grabbed the godly retribution spear. The godly retribution spear stopped in front of Lu Ming, unable to move any further. Kill him. Shutian yelled as his true force and domain surged into the godly retribution spear. However, it was as if the godly retribution spear was frozen in place, unable to move. Shutian widened his eyes as blue veins popped out on his face. He unleashed his full strength, but Lu Ming's hand was like a boulder. No matter how hard he yelled, it was useless. How is this possible? Shutian yelled in his heart. He could not believe it. Is this all you've got? Lu Ming said coldly. His muscles shuddered as a dragon's roar was heard, and he clenched his fist. Bang. The godly retribution spear that Shutian had formed shattered into pieces. Bang. Following this, Lu Ming clenched his fist and threw a punch at Shutian. Shutian instinctively raised his hands in front of him. Bang. Lu Ming's punch landed on Shutian's arms, causing them to explode. Shutian let out a cry of agony as his body was sent flying while he spat out mouthfuls of blood. Although they were both 4th layer martial royal realm cultivators, Shutian was unable to fight back against Lu Ming. He was easily defeated. Kill, let's attack together and kill them. Shutian yelled as his spiritual body glowed as he tried to repair his broken arms. Die. Kill. The other young men of the heavenly god sect yelled furiously as their auras burst out. Sacred light filled the air as terrifying attacks were launched at Lu Ming. Among them, 2 of the 6th layer martial royal realm cultivators were aiming at Lu Ming. Kill. Lu Ming yelled as he executed the holy sword technique. The 2 5th layer martial royal realm cultivators' souls shuddered as their true force became chaotic. Bang. Bang. Lu Ming stepped forward and threw out 2 blows. The 2 5th layer martial royal realm cultivators were instantly killed by Lu Ming. Let's kill you sons of bitches. On the other side, Tianque and Xuanixin attacked too. The strongest among them was only a 6th layer martial royal realm cultivator, thus they were no match against Tianque and Xuanixin. 2 of them were killed by Tianque's hammer, while the other 2 were killed by Xuanixin's fists. Chapter 15-18. Shi Tian's face instantly turned pale. How dare you? Shi Tian roared. I'll kill you now. Lu Ming stepped forward and charged at Shi Tian. Shi Tian retreated frantically and yelled, Senior brother, help. How dare you kill a disciple of the celestial god sect? Just then a cold murderous intent rushed out from the canyon. A huge palm print formed by Saint Light blasted toward Lu Ming. This palm was extremely terrifying. Lu Ming had a feeling that if he were to be hit by this palm, he might be blasted to death. Leave it to me. I'll do it. Tian Shui and Xuanixin rushed out at the same time. Tian Shui swung the giant hammer in his hand. His muscles bulged like a dragon as he smashed the hammer toward the palm print. Xuanixin let out a dragon's roar and a cold aura spread out from her body. Her delicate fists seemed to have turned into ice as she threw out 2 punches. Tian Shui and Xuanixin's attacks collided with the palm print at the same time. Boom, boom. After 2 loud explosions, Tian Shui and Xuanixin were sent flying with a muffled groan. However, the palm print had also been greatly weakened. It continued to blast toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's glabella glowed and his shield appeared. It flew forward and blocked the palm print. At the same time, a long spear formed in Lu Ming's hand. He swung the long spear and it pierced toward Shi Tian like a bolt of lightning. This move was shockingly fast. It pierced through Shi Tian's defense and pierced through his dantian, nailing him to the ground. I hate. Shi Tian roared. He was filled with unwillingness, but in the next moment he lost all signs of life. He was killed by Lu Ming. Boom. That palm print struck the shield and it was sent flying. It shrank rapidly and flew into Lu Ming's glabella before disappearing. However, this shield was a sacred weapon and it successfully blocked the other party's attack. You're courting death. A terrifying aura burst out from the canyon. A roar was heard and a terrifying aura rushed out of the canyon. Not good, run. Lu Ming roared and soared into the sky. At the same time, Tian Shui and Xuanixin also flew into the distance. Whoosh. A young man rushed out of the canyon, his body emitting a shocking killing intent. He stared at Lu Ming's group and roared, You want to escape after killing my heavenly god sect's disciples? Kill. The young man turned into a beam of holy light and chased after Lu Ming and the others at an astonishing speed. So fast. Lu Ming was startled. The other party's speed was too fast. He was closing in on them at an extremely fast speed. Whoosh. His opponent waved his hand and slashed out a beam of holy light. The holy light streaked across the void, heading straight for Lu Ming. At the last moment, Lu Ming killed Shi Tian, which made the other party target Lu Ming. Shi Tian was a rare genius in the heavenly divinity sect. In the Tsangdi secret realm, he had obtained the inheritance and was heavily nurtured. But now he was killed by Lu Ming. Junior brother, be careful. Tian Shui yelled. The holy light was too fast and it instantly closed in on Lu Ming. Whoosh. Black wings extended from Lu Ming's back and protected Lu Ming's body. Clang. The holy light hit the black wings, causing them to vibrate violently. Lu Ming's body was sent flying like a cannonball. So powerful. Lu Ming felt his qi and blood surging and blood flowed out of his mouth. Even with the protection of the black wings, he still vomited blood. This showed how powerful the other party's attack was. 9th layer martial royal realm. Moreover, the other party was a peerless genius with shocking combat strength. Junior brother, how are you? Xuanixin asked with concern. I'm fine. If this goes on, he will catch up to us sooner or later. Senior brother, senior sister, relax and don't resist. Lu Ming shouted. Okay. Tian Shui and Xuanixin nodded subconsciously. Lu Ming waved his hand and the mountain and river diagram appeared. He put Tian Shui and Xuanixin into the mountain and river diagram. Then he used the wind origin technique and flapped his black wings. His body shot forward like a black lightning bolt, and his speed was no slower than the heavenly god sect's peerless genius. The heavenly god sect's peerless genius's face changed, and the killing intent on his face intensified. He stared at Lu Ming, and the holy light on his body burned like a white flame. He sped up and chased closely behind Lu Ming. Who is that? What a shocking fluctuation. That's the peerless genius of the heavenly god sect, Shi Guan. Who is the one running in front? Why is Shi Guan chasing after him? That person is not ordinary either. That pair of wings is a sacred weapon. The two of them, one running and one chasing, attracted the attention of others. It's that guy Lu Ming. A few black-robed youths in front of Lu Ming heard the commotion and looked over. When one of them saw Lu Ming, his eyes flashed with killing intent. These people were the disciples of the Sky Universe Demon Sect. The one who spoke was Emohi. Shiguan is chasing after him. Let's stop Lu Ming, Emohi said coldly. He unsheathed his demonic saber and a saber light slashed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming, who was flying, narrowed his eyes and used his black wings to block in front of him. Bang! The demonic saber slashed at the black wings. Lu Ming's body shook and he was stopped. Lu Ming, let's see how you will die today. Emohi's eyes were cold as he stood in front of Lu Ming. Demonic chi filled the sky. Back then he had been ordered to kill Lu Ming. In the end, not only had he failed to kill Lu Ming, but the 5 LV7 Martial Royal Realm experts who had followed him had all died. Even he had been tricked by Lu Ming. One of his arms had been cut off and he had even lost his storage ring. During this period he had been thinking about revenge all the time. He had not expected to meet Lu Ming here. Moreover, Lu Ming was being chased by the Heavenly God Sect's experts. Of course he would not hesitate to attack. Emohi, I will kill you sooner or later, Lu Ming said coldly. His body flickered and he was about to rush to the other side. Stay. Emohi shouted coldly, and his demonic saber slashed out 10 saber lights. Emohi's arm, which had been cut off by Lu Ming, had grown back. His cultivation had reached the peak of the LV6 Martial Royal Realm. Emohi had a superior earthly spiritual body, and his combat strength was shocking. Lu Ming did not meet Emohi's attack head-on. His black wings slashed out like a heavenly saber, breaking through Emohi's saber lights. Stay. The 2 Sky Universe Demon Sect disciples who had followed Emohi unsheathed their demonic sabers and charged at Lu Ming. These 2 youths were at the peak of the LV5 Martial Royal Realm, and their combat strength was not weak. At the same time, the stone crown behind them was closing in. Kill? Lu Ming hollered. 2 beams of black light flashed in his eyes and dashed toward the 2 disciples of the Heavenly Universe Demon Sect. Their bodies shook. At this time, Lu Ming waved his hand, and the black dragon spear appeared. It turned into 2 spear lights and stabbed at the 2 Sky Universe Demon Sect disciples. The spear lights contained the 13-strike technique. 10 streaks of energy burst out and pierced through the 2 Sky Universe Demon Sect disciples' attacks and defenses. Buff, buff. The 2 Sky Universe Demon Sect disciples died. Die. Chapter 15-19. Shiguan's spear of divine punishment was extremely powerful, as if it could pierce through everything in the world. Lu Ming's hair stood on end. The sense of danger Shiguan gave him was too strong. Block it. Lu Ming's mind stirred and the sacred weapon shield flew out again, blocking in front of him. At the same time he continued to fly forward. Stay here. Emohi roared, his anger soaring to the sky. He didn't expect that after intercepting Lu Ming, he would be able to kill 2 Sky Universe Demon Sect disciples. His killing intent towards Lu Ming was even stronger. The demonic saber exploded and slashed towards Lu Ming. You're courting death. A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes, and the black wings covered his body. Boom. Shiguan's God's punishment spear hit the shield and sent it flying. Subsequently, it continued to hit the black wings. Lu Ming's body shook and he was sent flying. There was another stream of blood in his mouth. Shiguan's attack was too strong. If he didn't have 2 sacred artifacts protecting him, he wouldn't have been able to block it. So many sacred artifacts. Who is that person? He has so many sacred artifacts. In the distance, some onlookers stared at Lu Ming with fiery eyes. Lu Ming had too many sacred artifacts. He took out 3 in a row. You think you can avoid death by relying on sacred artifacts? Today you will still die. Kill. Shiguan shouted. His body was bathed in sacred light, and he held the spear of divine punishment in his hand. He charged towards Lu Ming like a god. Shiguan was definitely a rare genius of the Celestial God Sect. Although the pressure he gave off was far from that of a god's son, it was still very terrifying. If this continued, Lu Ming wouldn't be able to block more than a few moves even if he had a sacred artifact protecting him. Chirp chirp. At some point, Bubble appeared on Lu Ming's shoulder. With a wave of its paw, it opened a space-time tunnel. Lu Ming rushed in without hesitation. The next moment he appeared thousands of miles away. Then, with a flap of the black wings, Lu Ming quickly flew away. Space-time domain, damn it. Shiguan roared angrily and chased after Lu Ming at high speed. However, in front of him, Lu Ming got the bubbles to open another space-time passageway. This time, Lu Ming entered and his figure disappeared. Damn it. Shiguan went crazy. His anger surged into the heavens, and his killing intent was as cold as winter snow. That brat escaped again. Emohi's eyes were cold. Shirguan, this person is from Dragon God Valley. Emohi's voice resounded. Dragon God Valley? I must kill everyone from Dragon God Valley in this meeting? Shirguan said coldly. He turned into a beam of light and left. Lu Ming. Emohi gritted his teeth, and his eyes were as cold as a poisonous snake's. Then he left as well. Lu Ming ran madly through Song Mountain. Previously, Lu Ming had bubble open a spacetime passage and appeared in Song Mountain. The terrain of Song Mountain was complicated, and ancient trees towered into the sky. Naturally, Shirguan lost track of Lu Ming. Lu Ming ran for a while in Song Mountain and found a remote place to let Tianxue and Xuanixin out. Ninth junior brother, are you all right? Tianxue and Xuanixin looked at Lu Ming. I'm fine. I've shaken him off. Lu Ming said. Damn it. A rank 9 martial royal realm cultivator chased after us. If I increase my cultivation by 2 more levels, I'll smash him to death with my hammer. Tianxue said unhappily. Ninth junior brother, it's all thanks to you this time. Xuanixin said. She and Tianxue were not good at speed. If not for Lu Ming's Grotto Heaven treasure, they would not have been able to escape. I didn't expect ninth junior brother to have a Grotto Heaven treasure. Tianxue grinned. Are Grotto Heaven treasures very rare? Lu Ming asked curiously. Of course it's rare. A paradise treasure is a world of its own. It's like a small world. Only a great emperor can refine it. Furthermore, it requires rare materials. Tianxue said. Only great emperors can refine them? Lu Ming was shocked. He had thought that Grotto Heaven treasures were not rare in the Yuan continent. It seemed that the treasures obtained in the Battle of Providence were extremely rare. Let's take a rest here, Lu Ming said. They had suffered some injuries. Although they were not serious, they still needed some time to recover. Tianxue and Xuanixin nodded. The 3 of them sat with their legs crossed. After an hour, Lu Ming had recovered from his injuries. Where are we going now? Tianxue asked. Let's go to the outpost in Divine Dragon Valley. Every sect has an outpost in Song Mountain for their disciples to stay. There are sage realm elders there. The people of the Celestial sect will not dare to go to the outpost in Divine Dragon Valley. Xuanixin said. Lu Ming and Tianxue did not have any objections. Then, Xuanixin led the way and the 3 of them went to the outpost in Divine Dragon Valley. Soon, a large building appeared in front of them. It was built on the mountainside and looked very majestic. Lu Ming and the other 2 took out their Divine Dragon Valley disciple badges and entered without any hindrance. Lu Ming. A crisp and clear voice sounded. Lu Ming looked in the direction of the voice and a smile appeared on his face. Yingying brother Qiu? Lu Ming called out. It was Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao. The 2 of them walked towards Lu Ming with smiles on their faces. Yingying, I haven't seen you for a while. Your cultivation has improved a lot. Lu Ming looked at Qiu Yingying and said with a smile. Qiu Yingying's cultivation had reached LV3 Martial Royal Realm. This was out of Lu Ming's expectations. On the other hand, Qiu Hao's cultivation seemed to have just reached the 2nd layer Martial Royal Realm. I've received in succession in the Kangwu Mystical Ground and joined the Ice Dragon Valley. Chapter 1520. Lu Ming finally understood what was going on after Xuanixin explained. The treasure sorting assembly was held once every 3 years. The 13 top sects of the Tsang continent would gather at Tsang Mountain. Not only that, but many other sects would also attend. It was the biggest event in the Tsang continent in 3 years. Such an event naturally attracted many big chambers of commerce to gather at Tsang Mountain. There were even chambers of commerce from outside the Tsang continent. They brought many rare treasures that could not be found in the Tsang continent. Among them, the most famous was the Treasure Pavilion. I heard that the Treasure Pavilion is a very large chamber of commerce outside the Tsang continent. They are extremely powerful. I'm afraid that even the 13 top sects of the Tsang continent combined might not be as powerful as them. Xuanixin explained. So powerful? Lu Ming was shocked. Of course, because the Treasure Pavilion is an Emperor-level faction. Xuanixin said. Emperor-level faction. Lu Ming's pupils shrank. As the name suggested, an Emperor-level faction was only called an Emperor-level faction if it had a great emperor. None of the 13 top factions in the Tsang continent had a great emperor. Their strength could not be compared to an Emperor-level faction. Every time the Supreme Treasure Pavilion comes, they bring a lot of treasures that are rare in the Tsang state. Today is the opening day of the Supreme Treasure Pavilion. It will attract countless people. Let's go take a look and see if we can buy anything useful. Xuanixin said. Okay. Lu Ming nodded. He was suddenly interested. Not long after, the three of them changed into black robes and wore black bamboo hats on their heads, enveloping their entire bodies. At the same time, the three of them concealed their auras. Even if there were acquaintances, they would not be able to recognize them. According to Xuanixin, the Supreme Treasure Pavilion would open today. Many people from different factions would go there. Many of them had grudges against each other, so it would be easy for them to kill each other. Therefore, many people would wear black robes and bamboo hats to avoid being recognized. In this way, even if they bought something precious, they would not be targeted. The three of them flew toward a mountain. Not long after, a vast palace appeared in front of Three-Eyed Man. On the top of the palace there were three big words: Treasure Pavilion. The doors of the Supreme Treasure Pavilion were already open. Numerous figures flew into the pavilion. Most of them were dressed in black robes and bamboo hats like Lu Ming and the other two. Even if they weren't dressed in black robes, they had disguised themselves. The three of them walked through the door and immediately saw a huge counter. Behind the counter there were all kinds of treasures. The interior of the hall was extremely spacious. Counters were arranged in an orderly manner, and there were people in front of the counters who were specially assigned to greet the guests. Countless people were strolling around the palace. At a glance, there were no less than 100,000 people, but it did not seem crowded. It was clear how big the palace was. Moreover, in this place no one would dare to make a move to snatch the treasure. Because this was the Supreme Treasure Pavilion. It was said that many years ago, when the Treasure Pavilion first came to Tsang State, a saint tried to steal their treasures. In the end, an absolute saint appeared and slapped the saint to death. After that, no one dared to set their sights on the treasures of the Supreme Treasure Pavilion. So many precious materials. Lu Ming's gaze swept around, dazzling him. However, the materials, spiritual weapons, and pills here were of a lower grade and were not of much use to the three of them. Let's go upstairs. The treasures on the second floor are of a higher grade. Xuanixin said. There were a total of 3 floors here. The treasures on each floor would be of a higher grade and more precious. The three of them walked up the stairs to the second floor. The treasures on the second floor were indeed of a higher grade and more precious. This is the elixir of creation. It's even more precious than the 10,000 spirit elixir. Lu Ming saw a type of elixir of creation and bought 5 kilograms on the spot. Of course, the price was more than half of his mid-grade origin stones. Lu Ming put the elixir of creation into the mountain and river diagram. Ming Lian's second body poured the elixir of creation on the Enlightenment Ancient Tree. Now, the Enlightenment Ancient Tree was growing better and thicker, with more and more leaves. The three of them walked around. Tianxue and Xuanixin bought some things. Let's go to the 3rd floor, Lu Ming said. Then the three of them walked up to the 3rd floor. There were also many people on the 3rd floor, no less than 10,000. Of course, many of the treasures on the 3rd floor were of the saint realm, such as sacred elixirs and sacred weapons. They were very precious and many people couldn't afford them. They were just there to broaden their horizons. So many sacred weapons. Lu Ming looked at a counter. On the counter were numerous holy artifacts. At a glance, there were no less than 100 of them. No less than 100 saint weapons. How astonishing was that? Every single saint weapon exuded a mysterious aura and radiated various kinds of light. As for the counter, there were only 2 young and beautiful women standing there. It seemed that they were only martial emperors. Many people stopped in front of the counter to look. They stared at the sacred weapons with blazing eyes. They couldn't wait to swallow those sacred weapons. If it were any other place, there would be only 2 martial emperors guarding hundreds of sacred weapons. They would have been snatched away long ago. But here no one dared to make a move. If anyone dared to make a move, the next moment, they would be standing in front of a saint expert. Lu Ming and the other 2 came to the counter. Ladies, do you have any glove-type sacred weapons for sale? Lu Ming lowered his voice and asked. Of course, do you want to buy them? A young woman said with a smile. Not bad, can you show them to me? Lu Ming said. Okay. A woman nodded and took out a box. When she opened the box, a dark red ball the size of a longan fruit was revealed. This is. Lu Ming was a little confused. Didn't they want to give him a glove-type sacred weapon? Why did they take out a ball? Sir, this is a sacred weapon glove specially made by our treasure pavilion. It's very mysterious. Let me show it to you. a young woman said with a smile. Then she took the ball and placed it in her palm. A shocking scene appeared. The sphere actually softened like a pool of liquid, wrapping the young woman's hand inside, forming a glove. The young woman's palm seemed to be covered by a layer of black gauze. Then the young woman injected her true yuan. Buzz. The glove emitted a powerful aura. It was the aura of a sacred weapon. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He fell in love with this sacred weapon glove at first sight. Sir, this sacred weapon glove is called the Flowing Element Glove. It's made of flowing element gold and other precious materials. It contains the law and is a true sacred weapon. It's very hard. Sacred weapons of the same level can't break it. Moreover, it's very convenient to use. Chapter 15:21. When you want to use the flowing element glove, it will appear with just a thought. When you want to put it away, it will appear with just a thought. The young woman introduced. What an amazing glove. Such a glove is a rare treasure in the world. Many people at the side stared at the glove in the young woman's hand with burning eyes. Such a glove was too precious and tempting for martial artists who were good at palm techniques, finger techniques, and fist techniques. Miss, I want this glove. How much is it? Me too. Miss, how many origin stones? Suddenly, a few people spoke and stepped forward. Lu Ming frowned. He was the one who asked first. I'm sorry. The materials for the flowing element glove are hard to find and it's very difficult to refine. So, there's only one. The young woman said. Only one? Then sell it to me. Get lost. It's mine. At least a dozen people spoke. The scene was noisy. This glove is priced at 500 million mid-grade origin stones. No bargaining. The young woman said. What? 500 million? The scene suddenly quieted down, and the sound of people sucking in cold air could be heard. 500 million mid-grade origin stones? Miss, just one glove? The person who wanted to buy the glove earlier sounded a little hoarse. Gunch-type holy artifacts were slightly more expensive than ordinary holy artifacts. However, there were usually only a pair of them, which was why they were more expensive. A pair of good glove-type holy artifacts was worth 3 ordinary holy artifacts. A sacred weapon was worth about 100 million mid-grade origin stones. He originally estimated the price of this glove to be about 150 million, but now it was priced at 500 million. The price was shockingly high. It's too expensive. I can't afford it. It's not worth it. Those people shook their heads and gave up on the purchase. 500 million was too expensive. 500 million. Lu Ming gasped in his heart. 500 million was equivalent to 5 sacred weapons. He had obtained 4 bright sacred weapons from the Dragon Palace's treasury. Lu Ming had kept the Black Dragon Spear for his own use, so there were only 3 bright sacred weapons left. Even if he sold all 3 bright sacred weapons, he would still be short of 200 million mid-grade origin stones. All the raw stones he had on him added up to less than 200 million. Unless he sold a lot of precious refining materials, it would be possible for him to gather enough. Miss, do you accept holy weapons here? Lu Ming asked. Yes. The young woman smiled. Lu Ming waved his hand and 3 Ming-Shing weapons appeared in his hand. They were all obtained from the Dragon Palace treasury. 3 saint weapons. Many people's eyes lit up as they stared at Lu Ming. All sorts of lights flickered in their eyes and no one knew what they were thinking. Dear customer, if you want to buy the flowing element gloves, you can use the Ming-Shing weapon as a substitute. These 3 Ming-Shing weapons and 200 million origin stones will do. The young woman said. However, Lu Ming still revealed a look of hesitation. It wasn't that he didn't want to, but that he didn't have any. He still had a shield and a pair of black wings on him, but he wanted to keep both of them. Junior brother, I can lend you 2 holy weapons first. Tian Shui seemed to have seen through Lu Ming's thoughts. With a wave of his hand, 2 more holy weapons appeared. Senior brother, you, Lu Ming's eyes flickered. It's enough for me for now. Tian Shui smiled. Okay, I'll return it to senior brother as soon as possible. Lu Ming didn't stand on ceremony. He took Tian Shui's holy weapon and said, Miss, I'll use 5 holy weapons to buy the flowing element gloves. Okay. The young woman said. She took Lu Ming's holy weapon and put the flowing element gloves into a box before handing it to Lu Ming. Lu Ming took it and reached out to hold the flowing element gloves that had turned back into a ball. It was warm and cold to the touch. After he injected some true essence, the flowing element gloves flowed like liquid and wrapped around Lu Ming's right palm. It's as light as a feather. Lu Ming felt it carefully. The flowing element gloves were as light as a veil on his hand. It was almost weightless. As he injected more true essence, the flowing element gloves emitted a powerful aura. Lu Ming was slightly surprised. He found that as he injected true essence, the flowing element gloves' weight increased rapidly. The stronger the true essence, the heavier the gloves. Lu Ming was pleasantly surprised that the flowing element gloves had such a function. "Are you satisfied?" the young woman said. "Thank you." Lu Ming didn't say much. With a thought, he put away the flowing element gloves. If he wanted to use it freely, he would have to go back and refine it. At the side, pairs of fiery eyes stared at Lu Ming. Some of them were filled with greed. Lu Ming sneered. In the Supreme Treasure Pavilion, these people wouldn't dare to do anything to him. Lu Ming swaggered around with Xuanixin and Tianchui. "That's a heart of ice." Soon, Xuanixin found a heart of ice on a counter. It was a rare treasure. Xuanixin's true form was a snow dragon, so it was very useful to her. In the end, Xuanixin exchanged 2 sacred weapons for the heart of ice. So many sacred weapons. These 3 guys have so many sacred weapons. Some people had been paying attention to Lu Ming and the other 2. Seeing this scene, their eyes burned with passion. In total, Lu Ming, Tianchui, and Xuanixin had taken out 7 sacred weapons. How shocking was that? Senior brother, senior sister were being watched. Let's split up and blend into the crowd to divert their attention. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Tianchui and Xuanixin. There were close to 200,000 people on the 3 levels of the Supreme Treasure Pavilion. At least half of them were wearing black robes and bamboo hats. As long as they blended into the crowd and kept moving, these people wouldn't be able to find them. "Okay. Let's do that." Tianchui and Xuanixin nodded. Then the 3 of them spread out and sped up into the crowd. "Oh no, they're trying to run away. Chase them." Some people followed Lu Ming and the other 2 closely. However, the 3 of them had restrained their auras. The other party could not lock onto their auras at all. The 3 of them moved quickly among the crowd. They walked to the first floor, made dozens of rounds, ran to the second floor and then to the third floor. An hour later, those people had completely lost track of Lu Ming and the other 2. "Damn it. What a pity." Some people sighed. Lu Ming and the other 2 definitely had a lot of wealth. If they could take it, they would be rich. Unfortunately, Lu Ming and the other 2 were too cunning. Some people were very unhappy that they had escaped just like that. 2 hours later, Lu Ming, Tianchui, and Xuanixin met at the gate through voice transmission. They had bought what they needed. It was time to leave. The 3 of them left the gate and flew toward the outpost in Dragon God Valley. However, after flying for a while, the 3 of them suddenly stopped. In front of them, 3 figures in black robes blocked their way. "You guys, hand over your storage rings and get lost." The person in the middle spoke. He sounded very young. "You guys are really something." Chapter 1522. "Are you curious about how we found you?" the man in the middle asked. "That's what I was about to ask," Lu Ming said. "It's simple. When you bought the flowing element gloves, I put a kind of powder on you. It's colorless, odorless, and formless. No matter where you go or how you blend into the crowd, you won't be able to escape from me." The man in the middle explained and continued, "Hurry up and hand over your storage ring or die." "Try me if you dare," Lu Ming said. 2 6th layer Martial Royal Realm and 1 4th layer Martial Royal Realm. How arrogant. I can easily kill you. The black-robed man stepped forward. However, his cultivation was also at the 6th layer Martial Royal Realm. But, with a wave of his hand, a dense black cloud immediately shrouded the 3 of them. Poisonous insects. It was a dense cloud of poisonous insects. "So you're from the Desire Poison sect. Allow me." Xuanixin stepped forward. Her body emitted a cold aura as she threw out a punch. The force of her palm turned into a terrifying wave of frost that spread toward the poisonous insects. Instantly, the poisonous insects were frozen. Xuanixin then shook her palm, and the poisonous insects turned into ice shards and dissipated. "Not bad. Come again." A green mist burst out from the man's body. It emitted a disgusting stench as it surged toward Xuanixin. Xuanixin stepped forward and threw out 2 punches. Boom. Boom. Every single punch was accompanied by a terrifying frigid aura that froze the surrounding space. The poisonous mist was instantly sealed in ice. "You want to freeze my poisonous fog? In your dreams. Corrode." The other party let out a low roar, and the mist actually turned into small worms that corroded the ice. Then the poisonous fog surged toward Xuaningxin. What a terrifying poisonous fog. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He was well aware of Xuaningxin's strength and how terrifying her wave of frost was. Could even freeze true origin. However, it was corroded by the poisonous fog. This showed how terrifying the poisonous fog was. The man was definitely a peerless genius of the Desire Poison sect. No wonder he was so arrogant. Xuaningxin let out a dragon roar, and the cold chi on her body became more intense. She punched with both fists, and the fist energy turned into snow-white dragons that danced in the air. Bang! These true dragons were so powerful that they charged through the mist and headed straight for the Desire Poison sect's prodigies. Bang! The Desire Poison sect's prodigy's body exploded into a cloud of poisonous gas that shot toward Xuaningxin. Haha, my physique is a superior earth spiritual body, 1000 Desire Poison body. You can't hurt me at all. The other party's cold voice came from the poisonous gas. Xuaningxin kept punching with her fists, but the poisonous gas didn't seem to be able to hurt her opponent. The endless poisonous gas moved toward Xuaningxin. Roar! Xuaningxin let out another dragon roar. Her body started to change rapidly. Her black robe exploded and a huge snow dragon appeared in the sky. So it's a true dragon. You guys are from the Dragon God Valley. The voice of the Desire Poison sect's prodigy rang out from the poisonous gas. Xuaningxin turned into her true dragon form and let out a long roar. She opened her mouth and spat out a terrifying wave of frost that covered a 10-mile radius. The 10-mile radius was completely frozen. This time, some of the poisonous gas was frozen. However, there was still a lot of poisonous gas that turned into weapons that shot toward Xuaningxin. Xuaningxin stepped out with her dragon claws and clashed with the weapons. The two exchanged blows, but it was difficult to determine the victor. That's a true dragon. How terrifying. And the Desire Poison sect's prodigy. The battle was so intense that many people in the distance were alerted and flew over. Even the people in the Supreme Treasure Pavilion were alerted and flew over to take a look. In an instant, the battlefield was filled with people. What terrifying battle prowess. She's only a 6th-layer martial emperor. She must be a top prodigy with a superior earth spiritual body. Many people commented. In the blink of an eye, Xuaningxin and her opponent had exchanged dozens of blows. The prodigy of the Desire Poison sect became more and more impatient as the battle continued. He had initially thought that he would be able to defeat Lu Ming and the others easily. He could even kill a 7th-layer martial emperor with ease, let alone a 6th-layer martial emperor. In fact, ordinary 8th-layer martial emperors would be poisoned to death if they were not careful. However, someone with the same cultivation level was able to fight him to a draw. He knew that he had encountered a genius of the same cultivation as him. You guys attack and kill those two. The prodigy of the Desire Poison sect yelled. Whoosh, whoosh. The other two prodigies of the Desire Poison sect charged toward Lu Ming and Tian Chui. Their auras were at the peak of the 7th-layer martial emperor realm. Buzz, buzz. As soon as the two of them attacked, densely packed poisonous insects pounced toward Lu Ming and Sky Hammer. Tian Chui let out a furious roar as he swung his giant hammer forward. Bang! The sky shook crazily. The huge hammer smashed down, bringing with it a terrifying shockwave. Those poisonous insects were all blown apart, turning into ashes. Not only that, but the shockwaves did not stop as they struck the two prodigies of the Desire Poison sect. The bodies of the two Desire Poison sect members exploded, turning into green poisonous gas that tumbled and flew backwards before condensing back together. The two prodigies stared at Tian Chui in shock. Although they had poisonous bodies and could turn into poisonous gas to counteract the attack, there was a limit to it. If the attack was too strong, it could still injure or even kill them. Tian Chui's attack had already injured them. Kill. I don't care if you have poisonous bodies, I'll crush them all. Tian Chui raised his giant hammer and charged toward the two prodigies of the Desire Poison sect. There was no need for Lu Ming to attack. Oh no! The two prodigies of the Desire Poison sect were shocked. They formed a shield with their poisonous insects and blocked in front of them. However, under Tian Chui's hammer, the insects collapsed. The two prodigies of the Desire Poison sect's prodigies were shattered again and reformed in the distance. Their faces were pale and blood was flowing out of their mouths. Die. Tian Chui stepped forward. How dare you? Don't even think about killing the prodigies of the Desire Poison sect. Several figures flew over from afar. Before they even arrived, disgusting poisonous gas had already spread toward Tian Chui. Some of the prodigies of the Desire Poison sect saw it and joined the battle. "You have more people?" Lu Ming said coldly. He stepped forward and appeared in front of the prodigies of the Desire Poison sect. Devouring power erupted from his palm and enveloped the poisonous gas. Hoo-hoo, the poisonous gas was completely devoured by Lu Ming. Bang, bang. Then Lu Ming stepped into the void and 9 dragons rushed out. They charged toward the prodigies of the Desire Poison sect and sent them flying. Bang. On the other side, the prodigy who had been fighting with Xuanixin turned into a cloud of poisonous gas and retreated. He then reformed into a human form. It was a youth with a pale and cold face. Set up the poisonous gas array. Chapter 1523. Yes. The other members of the Desire Poison sect replied. Poisonous insects flew out of their bodies and flew toward Lu Ming's group. At the same time, their figures flickered as they took mysterious positions. Following which, their bodies began to disperse into green poisonous gas. At this moment, the poisonous gas crazily expanded until it covered the sky and enveloped Lu Ming's group. Lu Ming and Tian Shui tore off their black robes and met up with Xuanixin. The 3 of them stood together. "This is the poison array. Be careful," Xuanixin said. Her enormous body was covered in snow-white sparkling dragon scales. She was filled with a sense of beauty, like the most beautiful piece of art in the world. "Let me," Lu Ming said coldly as his primal chaos domain spread out. Lightning. Following which, Lu Ming waved his hand and the chaotic territory turned into a thunder territory. Thunderbolts appeared all over the sky and there seemed to be countless lightning snakes swimming in the sky. Each of the lightning snakes was as thick as an arm and they spread out in all directions. The poisonous insects were struck by these lightning snakes and fell down in droves. Fire. Lu Ming continued. The primal chaos domain changed again, turning into flames that filled the sky. The flames accompanied the lightning as they surged toward the poisonous insects and the poisonous gas. T, 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 buff, 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 swoosh. Following which, a pair of black wings appeared on Lu Ming's back. The black wings expanded to a length of 100 meters. The black wings were covered with the wind domain. Lu Ming's entire body began to spin rapidly. Oh, oh. The black wings brought with them endless gales that surged in all directions with astonishing power. Lightning, fire, and wind surged in the world, resisting the poisonous gas in all directions. For a moment they were in a deadlock. Senior brother, senior sister, get ready to attack. Lu Ming transmitted to Tian Shui and Xuanixin. Thereupon, kill, 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 kill. Lu Ming roared. With a series of roars, a formless spiritual attack shot towards the poison gas. The people of the Desire Poison sect cultivated the poison body. Their bodies could disperse, but their souls were still attached to the poisonous gas. They would still be attacked by Lu Ming. Furthermore, because the spirit body was scattered, the defense against the soul was even weaker. Lu Ming used the divine sword art, and with a few loud roars, a few miserable shrieks came out from the poisonous gas. The balls of poisonous gas twisted violently, and then gathered together to form a human shape. Kill. Kill. Lu Ming, Tian Shui, and Xuanixin roared as they charged at a Desire Poison sect's disciple. The black dragon spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand, and he smashed it down. In an instant, a 10-fold attack power erupted, causing the void to tremble violently. Bang. The Desire Poison sect's disciple screamed as his body was torn apart. This time he didn't turn into poisonous gas. Instead he was truly torn apart. Lu Ming's attack had exceeded his limit, so he was killed by Lu Ming. On the other side, Tian Shui and Xuanixin also used their strongest attacks, each killing a person. After killing 3 people, the poisonous gas array broke. The remaining poisonous gas began to churn, condensing into 3 people that quickly retreated. One of them was the supreme prodigy of the Desire Poison sect. Today the ones who will die will be you. Tian Shui roared as he raised his hammer and charged at the Desire Poison sect's disciples. Lu Ming and Xuanixin also stepped forward. What's going on? The spectators scratched their heads in confusion. Previously, the powerful figures of the Desire Poison sect had set up a poison gas array, enveloping an area and trapping Lu Ming and the other 2. They had thought that Lu Ming and the other 2 were dead for sure. Unexpectedly, in the next moment, there were flashes of lightning, flames, and strong winds within the poison gas array. Then there were several loud shouts and the poison gas array collapsed. A few people from the Desire Poison sect were killed one after another. The remaining few people were at a disadvantage and kept retreating. They didn't understand how the Desire Poison sect had lost. The remaining members of the Desire Poison sect had ugly expressions. Lu Ming's roars had injured their souls, so they weren't a match for Lu Ming's group. Lu Ming. At this moment, a loud roar resounded through the world. At least 8 or 9 rays of demonic light tore through the void and flew toward Lu Ming's group. In the next moment, 9 figures appeared behind Lu Ming's group, forming a pincer attack with the Desire Poison sect. Emohi. Lu Ming's face turned cold. The 9 figures were all disciples of the Sky Universe Demon sect, and one of them was Emohi. Emohi's body was filled with killing intent, and his eyes were sharp as they swept over Lu Ming. Brother Wu, why don't we join forces and kill these 3? Emohi looked at the Desire Poison sect's genius and asked. Of course. The Desire Poison sect's genius was overjoyed and quickly agreed. A trace of malevolence flashed in his eyes. It seemed that Lu Ming's group of 3 had offended many people. Emohi, you're courting death. Lu Ming said coldly. Originally, he didn't want to have a bad relationship with the Sky Universe Demon sect because of Xian Yanqing. However, the Sky Universe Demon sect had gone too far. Back then, Emohi had brought people to kill him. If he hadn't been lucky, he would have died. Every time he met Emohi in Song Mountain, the other party wanted to kill him. Lu Ming decided that if he faced the Sky Universe Demon sect again, he wouldn't be merciful. He would kill those who deserved to die. Do you think you can kill me? Emohi sneered. Demonic chi surged from his body as he unsheathed his demonic saber and slashed at Lu Ming. Brat, I'll deal with you. Tian Shui shouted as he raised his giant hammer and smashed it at Emohi. Clang. The demonic saber and the giant hammer collided, and an earth-shattering sound rang out. Emohi and Tian Shui's bodies shook as they both retreated. Again? Tian Shui's eyes were filled with malevolence. He was like a barbaric dragon, and his muscles bulged as a dragon's roar sounded. He raised his giant hammer and smashed it at Emohi. Kill? Emohi shouted as his demonic saber burst forth. It was even more terrifying as it charged at Tian Shui. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, the two of them exchanged more than 10 moves, but there was no clear winner. Attack. At this moment, Lu Ming and Xuanixin also attacked. Lu Ming's black wings flapped as he charged at the people from the Sky Universe Demon sect. He thrust out his black dragon spear, which turned into a dazzling light. A young man from the Sky Universe Demon sect, who was at the peak of the 5th layer Martial Royal Realm, was killed by Lu Ming. Then the long spear swept out and a rank 6 Martial Royal Realm cultivator's body exploded. Xuanixin cooperated with Lu Ming and pounced on the people from the Sky Universe Demon sect. One of them was killed by a claw. Kill? There was also an expert from the Sky Universe Demon sect. A young man at the peak of the 7th layer Martial Royal Realm erupted with shocking battle strength as he fought with Xuanixin. However, Lu Ming was invincible. After several people were killed by Lu Ming, the remaining people from the Sky Universe Demon sect turned pale and retreated. They did not dare to fight against Lu Ming. What powerful battle strength. That guy from the Dragon God Valley is so strong that he can fight Emohi to a standstill. How terrifying. Emohi is a top genius of the Sky Universe Demon sect. He is considered a top genius in the entire Tsang continent. Who is that guy? How can he fight Emohi to such an extent? It seems to be that crazy guy from the Dragon God Valley, Tian Shui. Chapter 1524. Tian Shui loved to battle and was fond of killing, thus he was quite famous among the crowd. And that snow dragon, its strength is quite shocking too. It seems to be stronger than an ordinary dragon. Indeed, it should be a genius among the true dragons. And that 4th layer martial dominator, his strength is quite shocking too. That's where you're wrong. That 4th layer martial dominator cultivator is relying on a sacred weapon. Did you see the wings on his back and the spear in his hand are both sacred weapons? That's why his strength is so strong. Without a sacred weapon, his strength would only be ordinary. That's true. The disciples of the various sects began to discuss among themselves. In the sky, Lu Ming executed his movement technique and lunged toward a 6th layer martial dominator. The person's expression changed greatly as he did not dare to face Lu Ming's attack head-on. Croak. At that instant, a croak could be heard as a giant golden toad lunged toward Lu Ming. It opened its mouth and emitted a poisonous gas toward Lu Ming. The poisonous gas of a sacred weapon. Lu Ming's expression changed slightly. He could tell at a glance that the golden toad was a sacred weapon. The poisonous gas of a sacred weapon was absolutely terrifying. Whoosh! Lu Ming quickly backed away, not wanting to come into contact with the poisonous gas. The young genius of the Desire Poison sect controlled the golden toad and chased after Lu Ming. Croak, croak. The golden toad cried out as if it were alive. It kicked the air and turned into a golden ray that charged toward Lu Ming. Whoosh! Following this, a golden ray was fired from the toad's mouth and penetrated Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. The golden ray was the tongue of the toad. Whoosh! The black dragon spear stabbed forward like a black lightning bolt. Ding! 2 rays of light, one black and one golden, collided in the air. Lu Ming's figure shuddered as he was knocked 2 steps backward. Meanwhile, the tongue of the toad was knocked flying. What a powerful force! Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. His opponent's saint weapon was truly powerful. Not only did it have a poison attack, it also had a tongue attack. Without a doubt, if he was struck by that tongue, he would definitely be killed. Croak! The golden toad cried out and spat out poisonous gas from its mouth. Get the hell back! Lu Ming coldly spoke. His black wings flapped, causing a gale to sweep forward. The poisonous gas was blown off course by the gale. A Sky Universe Devil Sect disciple was careless and was enveloped by the poisonous gas. He immediately let out a mournful scream. In just a few breaths of time, he turned into a skeleton and fell to the ground. What a terrifying poison. That disciple of the demon sect was a low-earth spiritual body cultivator, but he had died in a few breaths. The Desire Poison sect's youth's face was dark as he controlled the golden toad to attack Lu Ming. Whoosh! Just at this moment, a terrifying sharpness stabbed towards Lu Ming from behind. It was a spear, the spear of divine retribution. This spear of divine punishment was too fast, and its power was too shocking. Not good. The moment Lu Ming felt it, his body stiffened as if a terrifying aura had locked onto him. In the next instant, the spear of divine punishment was about to pierce through Lu Ming's body. It was too fast, so fast that Lu Ming did not even have time to react. The spear of divine punishment pierced through Lu Ming's body. However, at this moment, Lu Ming's body shattered like a mirror with a loud bang. A dozen meters away, Lu Ming's figure appeared. Lu Ming felt a layer of cold sweat on his back. That attack had been too dangerous. Lu Ming had almost been killed. Luckily, Bubble had acted at the critical moment and used the space-time domain to move Lu Ming a dozen meters away, allowing him to avoid a calamity. A figure appeared where Lu Ming had been and a cold voice resounded, "Space-time domain." It's him. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. The person who had appeared was the genius of the Heavenly God sect who had chased after Lu Ming previously, Shiguan. This person was a 9th-layer martial dominator realm genius, who had tried to ambush Qin Nan. Space-time domain? Die. Shiguan said coldly as he lashed out with the spear of divine punishment in his hand, causing the air to explode. The spear of divine punishment was aimed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's forehead emitted a glow, forming a shield in front of him. At the same time, his black wings protected his body. Bang! The shield was instantly sent flying as the spear of divine punishment struck Lu Ming's black wings. Lu Ming's body shuddered violently as he was sent flying like a cannonball. Lu Ming spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His opponent was too powerful. Even with the protection of a sacred weapon, he was still severely injured. Die. Shiguan said coldly as his body was bathed in a sacred glow. He took a step forward and charged at Lu Ming with the spear of divine punishment. The spear of divine punishment was aimed at Lu Ming's forehead as if it could penetrate anything in the world. However, at this crucial moment, a cold aura was emitted from below as an icy sword stabbed at Shiguan at a terrifying speed. Shiguan's expression changed. The icy sword posed a fatal threat to him. He no longer cared about killing Lu Ming as he swung the spear of divine punishment at the icy sword. Bang! A shocking explosion could be heard as a terrifying shockwave swept in all directions. With the help of the shockwave, Lu Ming was sent flying over 10 li away with a cold look in his eyes. Previously, he had decided to cooperate with Bubble and fight to the death. Even if he were to die in the battle, he would not let his opponent have an easy time. However, it seemed like there was no need for that now. Han Chao, it's you. Shiguan's figure also retreated as he shouted coldly. At this moment, a young man appeared in front of Shiguan. The young man was slender and handsome. He wore a snow-white robe with an ice dragon embroidered on it. He was a disciple of the Dragon God Valley and the Ice Dragon Valley. So many people from the three sects are attacking three disciples of the Dragon God Valley. Now, even a martial royal realm 9th layer cultivator like you is attacking. Ah, how shameless. The young man from the Ice Dragon Valley, Han Chao, sneered. This Lu Ming has killed many people from the Heavenly God sect. He must die. There's no need to use any means. Shi Guan said coldly. Haha, killed many people from the Heavenly God sect? What a joke. Have you not killed many disciples of the Dragon God Valley in the past few years? Does that mean that I have to kill all of the people from the Heavenly God sect whenever I see them? Do I have to use any means? Han Chao said with a mocking smile. Shi Guan's face darkened. Indeed, the Dragon God Valley and the Heavenly God sect were not on good terms. It was normal for them to kill each other. However, there were still rules. For example, the Sage Realm experts from both sides would not attack the juniors of the other side. That would cause chaos. Han Chao, you don't have to say anything. Today these people must die. Shi Guan said. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, figures flew over from all directions. There were at least a few dozen people standing behind Shi Guan. They were all disciples of the Heavenly God sect. Whoosh, whoosh. Chapter 1525. Boom. Tian Shui and Mo He exchanged a blow and separated. Tian Shui went to Lu Ming's side. Xuaning Xin also stopped and went to Lu Ming's side. She looked around solemnly. There were at least 100 people from the Heavenly God sect, Empyrean Demon sect, and Desire Poison sect. Their auras surged and suppressed Lu Ming's group. Cold murderous intent filled the air. Now, I don't need to do anything. They're all dead meat. Shi Guan sneered. Do you really think there's no one in the Dragon God Valley? Where are the disciples of the Dragon God Valley? Han Chao shouted. His voice spread far and wide. Senior brother, let me help you. I'll do it. Voices rang out. Then, figures flashed across the sky and landed behind Han Chao. They were the disciples of the Dragon God Valley. More and more disciples of the Dragon God Valley rushed out from the crowd. Everyone, this was caused by Lu Ming and the other two from the Cloud Dragon Valley. Why should we get involved in this mess? He stood in front of a few disciples of the Dragon God Valley and said. He wanted Lu Ming to be surrounded by the three sections. He couldn't wait for Lu Ming to be killed. Naturally, he didn't want anyone to help him. Although the 7 valleys of the Dragon God Valley have some competition with each other, we have to be on the same side. If you're not going to do anything, get out of my way. A disciple of the Black Dragon Valley shouted and flew toward the battlefield. The other disciples of the Dragon God Valley also flew toward the battlefield. Hiyu's face turned ugly. He snorted and blended into the crowd. How could he do anything? There were more than 40 disciples of the Dragon God Valley behind Han Chao. The auras of both sides exploded. The atmosphere was tense and tense. Han Chao, you think the Dragon God Valley can go against the three sects? How naive. Fine, I'll kill all of you today. Shi Guan's eyes were filled with cold murderous intent. The three sects had the absolute advantage. They could use this opportunity to kill a group of Dragon God Valley's elites and weaken the Dragon God Valley's strength. Who are you going to kill? A faint voice came from the sky. Boom. Then a terrifying aura pressed down from the sky toward Shi Guan. Shi Guan's expression changed drastically. He roared angrily, and holy light erupted from his body to resist this aura. However, the holy light on his body trembled violently, and he couldn't help but take a few steps back. He looked at the sky with an ugly expression. Zifeng. Shi Guan roared angrily, a serious look in his eyes. At that moment, everyone's gazes were also focused on the sky. High up in the sky, a purple-robed youth stood with his hands behind his back. His gaze swept across the Heavenly God sect, Sky Universe Demon sect, and Desire Poison sect indifferently. Zifeng, the number 1 genius of the Dragon God Valley, one of the top 10 geniuses of the Tsang state. A message appeared in Lu Ming's mind. Senior brother Zifeng. It's senior brother Zifeng. The other disciples of Dragon God Valley were overjoyed. Zifeng had arrived. They knew that even if there was a battle today they would not lose. Zifeng, you want to interfere? Shi Guan said as he looked at Zifeng with an ugly expression. Although his combat strength was strong, it was nothing compared to Zifeng, who was a genius of the Tsang state. He could probably kill him in one move. The 3 of you have joined forces to bully my Dragon God Valley. What's wrong with me interfering? Zifeng said indifferently and took a step forward. Brr. An earth-shattering dragon roar came from his body. The shadow of a purple true dragon soared into the sky and looked down in all directions. A terrifying pressure pressed down on the disciples of the Heavenly God sect, Sky Universe Demon sect, and Desire Poison sect. The expressions of the disciples of the three forces changed drastically. It was as if a huge rock was pressing down on them, and they couldn't even breathe properly. This pressure? So strong. Is this the combat strength of a genius? We can't fight back at all. It's as if we're facing a Sage Realm expert. The disciples of the three sects revealed looks of fear on their faces. Their combat strength was far inferior to Zifeng's. If they attacked, they would be slaughtered. Zifeng, as one of the top 10 geniuses of the Tsang state, aren't you afraid of being laughed at by others for attacking these ordinary disciples? At that moment, a domineering voice sounded. A burly figure stepped into the air and stood not far away from Zifeng. Demonic chi surged from his body, and a powerful aura rushed out and destroyed Zifeng's aura. The disciples of the three forces felt their bodies lighten. Senior brother Mo Yang. The disciples of the Sky Universe Demon sect cried out in surprise. Mo Yang, one of the top 10 geniuses, is here too. Some of the spectators sucked in a breath of cold air, but at the same time they were also excited. 2 of the top 10 geniuses of the Tsang state had arrived. Could it be that the top 10 geniuses were going to fight in advance today? The top 10 geniuses of the Tsang state had fought at the Tsang State Treasure Assembly 3 years ago. In the past 3 years, they had all been cultivating in seclusion in order to suppress the other geniuses at the Treasure Assembly. They hadn't fought for 3 years. Everyone was very curious. After 3 years, to what extent had the combat strength of the top 10 monstrous geniuses reached? Others are laughing at us? Don't you think that the Celestial God sect, the Sky Universe Demon sect, and the Poison sect are the laughing stock? Generally speaking, before the Treasure Assembly, those who are above the 7th level of the Martial Royal Realm would be preparing for the Treasure Assembly and wouldn't fight easily. The period before the Assembly is the stage for geniuses below the 7th level of the Martial Royal Realm. They will fight again and again. Those who are above the 7th level of the Martial Royal Realm are not allowed to interfere. But what about you? After saying that, Zifeng's gaze swept across the disciples of the 3 major sections. Among these people, at least 1/3 of them were above the 7th level of the Martial Royal Realm. That's right. The Celestial God sect, the Sky Universe Demon sect, and the Poison sect were the first to besiege us. With their geniuses above the 7th level of the Martial Royal Realm, they besieged 2/6th level of the Martial Royal Realm and 1/4 level of the Martial Royal Realm. However, they still couldn't defeat our disciples. In the end, even Shiguan had to sneak up on them. What a joke. Han Chao said coldly and mockingly. Shiguan's face turned ghastly pale. Zifeng and Han Chao were right. Before the Treasure Assembly, it was a fight between disciples below the 7th level of the Martial Royal Realm. Those who were above the 7th level of the Martial Royal Realm would not interfere. Previously, if he had quickly killed Lu Ming and the other 2 and left, it would have been fine. However, now that he had done so, he would definitely be criticized and dissatisfied by the other sections. There were 13 top sects in the Tsang Prefecture, not just the few of them. This was the common unspoken rule of the 13 sections. Well, in that case, let's meet at the Treasure Assembly in 10 days. Let's see how strong the backup force of the Dragon God Valley is. Mo Yang said domineeringly. That's right. At the Treasure Assembly in 10 days, unless the Dragon God Valley withdraws, let's see how you will die. Unless the Dragon God Valley doesn't participate. That's not bad. The Treasure Assembly of the Dragon God Valley can end early, Shiguan said coldly. He knew that with the arrival of the 2 monstrous geniuses, Zifeng and Mo Yang, there would be no fight today. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.